Once again, it's time for LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. We are who we are. You know who we are. We're back from a short break, that usual 5-day break. Last broadcast being on Thursday of last week, but we got a lot of information to cover tonight. As usual, we are broadcasting on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope Live. So for everybody who's watching, thank you for joining us and appreciate it very much. Like I said, we do have a lot to cover tonight, so we're gonna dig right in. There's a few stories that we're not gonna go too far into, so we can kind of begin with those. The Democratic debate coming up in November. That's the 5th Democratic debate. Of course, we haven't hit that 4th debate due to take place next week on the was it the 12th? 15th, yeah, on Tuesday. But the 5th Democratic debate in November, there is an 8th candidate that has qualified for it, and that's Andrew Yang. So he joins the other candidates, which are, of course, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker, and Tom Steyer, who have previously qualified for that debate. So that makes 8.
No Tulsi though. No Tulsi.
No Tulsi as of yet.
But for the 4th, it's all good.
It's all good for the 4th one. There are 12 candidates for that next debate coming up next week. There's only going to be one debate too. So 12 candidates on one stage. Not a good look. Not a good look. I don't think so. 12 candidates. It's not going to be more than 2 hours.
When 10 candidates were on stage, it was chaotic, and it seemed a bit jumbled.
Yes.
People just fighting for time.
And that's the same thing that's happening right now. Yeah.
Unless it's longer, which it's not going to be.
Guaranteed that Steyer, Tulsi Gabbard,
Yang,
Castro, these are the types that are not going to get a lot of talking time. So,
no.
That's what we got. So anyway, we did report before that to qualify for that 5th debate, you need 165 individual contributors, also at least 3% in 4 qualifying polls or 5% in 2 state polls of the 4 early states, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada. So Bernie Sanders, kind of transitioning to Senator Bernie Sanders. We know that he had some complications with his health recently. His campaign did confirm that he did have a heart attack. So he did get released from the hospital. Seems like he's doing better. He's out walking around. And he did just tell some reporters about, how he's feeling. So we have a short clip of that.
I'm feeling good. We're getting some work done, doing some walking, getting stronger, and that's about it.
Do you plan to release your medical records sooner than originally planned now?
No. We'll release them. We've always planned to release them, and we have more medical records, obviously, now, and we will release them at the appropriate time.
Senator, how do you envision this? Could this help your campaign as a way to talk about?
I don't think it helps or it hurts, but I'll tell you one thing that I look forward to doing. I must confess that I was dumb. I was born, and thank God that I have a lot of energy. And, you know, during this campaign, I've been doing, in some cases, 3 or 4 rallies a day, running all over the state, Iowa, New Hampshire, wherever. And yet I, in the last month or two, just was more fatigued than I usually have been. So, and I should have listened to those symptoms. So if there's any message that I hope we can get out there, is that I want people to pay attention to their symptoms. And, you know, when you're hurting, when you're fatigued, when you have a pain in your chest, listen to it.
So, like you said, you know, he's up and moving about. I think he was on the way to his doctor right then. But you know, just telling everybody what everybody already should know. But, you know, it's, of course, a lot of people that don't pay attention to symptoms and feel like whatever problem that they're having is going to go away. He's no different than anybody else. So, you know.
Yeah, because sometimes we just normalize symptoms. Mm-hmm. We don't take them seriously enough, especially when it comes to just something that we perceive as a minor pain. Like, oh, I felt a little, you know, discomfort in my chest. It may have been indigestion.
Right. Could be fear, too, of finding out something that you don't want to find
out.
out.
True that.
Not being able to face it.
Yeah, they didn't know what it was because he was at a campaign rally and he had to sit down. And I guess, I don't know, if somebody on his staff came over and provided a chair. And they didn't know exactly what it was at that point. But they needed confirmation from a doctor, and it confirmed that he had a mild heart attack. Right. Wasn't like one of those chest clenching heart attacks. Yeah. But it was a blockage for them to classify it as a heart attack. Now, of course, there was a lot of blue check marked Twitter trolls. I call them blue check marked Twitter trolls that are paid by other campaigns that jumped on this and made it sound like Bernie Sanders' campaign hid something. And I'm just like, what do you expect them to say? When someone has, you know, chest discomfort, do you expect them to immediately interpret that as a heart attack? As soon as they got confirmation from a doctor, guess what? It was reported that he had a heart attack.
True.
But interesting enough, this man was just working with a limited supply of blood. This whole time. He was working with a limited supply of blood this whole time. So now he has a stent in there. He has some, you know, two stents. Yeah, my bad. So a little more blood flow is a little freed up.
Yeah.
So
take care of the blockage.
Yeah. So I don't know. People might be in trouble now.
Might be more on his A game than before. Something like that.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
There's a town hall coming up on Thursday, and his campaign did say that he's not going to take part in that, but that next week for that fourth debate, he will participate in that one. So it'd be good to see him then. Good to see all the candidates and discuss, you know, what they have to say. All right, let's move on to, on Monday, a federal judge dismissed President Trump's lawsuit seeking to prevent New York prosecutors from obtaining his tax records. Trump's lawsuit centered around the idea that the president of the United States is exempt from any type of criminal investigation, the criminal process, or anything like that. U.S. District Court Judge Victor Marrero referred to that assertion as, quote, unqualified and boundless, end quote. So Mazars USA, which is Trump's tax preparer, they had a deadline of 1 p.m. on Monday to turn over those tax records. But another court swooped in and saved Trump, at least for the time being. So the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit issued Trump a stay. And so what now is going to happen is sometime soon, they said it's going to be an expedited process, but there's going to be a panel of appellate judges that are going to be hearing the case and will issue a ruling. So there's a lot of work for somebody that doesn't have anything to hide. I mean, this is a lot of effort for somebody that is known to show off everything that's good about him and his finances. But he's protecting something. He's protecting something here. He doesn't want anybody to know what's in those records for some reason, for some odd reason.
Yeah, I used to think he was just pump faking, like building up this suspense. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was a possibility. Like, he's like kind of playing this up and waiting for the moment to reveal that nothing's really there.
Right. He's doing too much now.
Yeah, he's doing too much
too
now.
much.
Like, I thought it was just, he's just like playing. He's just playing them. He's just playing people so that this big controversy is built up and this big bubble is just blown up. And then all of a sudden there's nothing there and he comes out the winner. I thought that was the case, but I'm not so sure now. I just don't know why someone's working so hard to keep something hidden. It's got to be more in there, right? Than just maybe exposing him for like how much he's actually worth, or how much debt he's actually in. There's got to be something else in there. You see what I'm saying? Because like if he's broke or in massive debt, yes, that is embarrassing, and that would be a blow to his ego,
and his image,
which is most important to him. But like how much would that benefit the opposition party politically if that came out? Like would all of a sudden Trump would his approval rating go down? I don't think so. I don't think it would benefit the opposition for information like that to come out. Like he's in debt and he broke. I don't know how much political utility.
Might, because he has built himself as a very, very rich guy, billionaire.
A businessman. He's going to make everybody
successful.
Rich. Yeah.
Not just a businessman, but a successful businessman. So if he's proven to be a liar, I'm not sure. Like I said, I do believe that there's something else in there that he's trying to keep hidden. But I think it would be damaging to some degree if he is evidenced as a liar in terms of his net worth and just his business dealings and all that. I think that would hurt. Like I said, it would hurt his whole image. But we know that Trump supporters are able to excuse and forgive and defend anything.
So you can't you don't put anything past them.
No, I don't.
Yeah. So there's got to be something sketchy buried in there for him to employ his lawyers to block this release, especially when he said he would release his taxes when he was campaigning.
And this is usual process. This is a usual process by the major candidates of a political party, the nominee of their political party when they're running for president. So, like you said, he said he would do it. He hasn't done it. He keeps blocking the effort to get that information out. Yeah, there's something there. All right, so let's go to the news of the day. This has been happening for a few days now. On Sunday night, the White House announced that U.S. forces in northern Syria, who had been helping Kurdish forces in the area, are pulling out. So the White House announced that Trump's decision was following a phone call between Trump and the Turkish president, Erdogan. Erdogan. I think it's Erdogan. I think it's Erdogan.
You sure?
It doesn't look like it's spelled, but I believe it's Erdogan. But yes, so these forces, of course, been in the area for a while, and Trump has talked about this before. So this is not, I guess, new news, him trying to get the forces out of Syria. But it is new that they have actually left now. So Trump, of course, is going to explain this in a certain type of way to defend his actions. So first, let's deal with his own words, which, of course, he is trying to break this news to his followers on Twitter. So this is what he had to say. All right, so he said the United States was supposed to be in Syria for 30 days. That was many years ago. We stayed and got deeper and deeper into battle with no aim in sight. When I arrived in Washington, ISIS was running rampant in the area. We quickly defeated 100% of the ISIS caliphate, including capturing thousands of ISIS fighters, mostly from Europe. But Europe did not want them back. They said, "You keep them, USA." I said, "No, we did you a great favor, and now you want us to hold them in U.S. prisons at tremendous cost. They are yours for trials." They again said no, thinking as usual that the U.S. is always the sucker and NATO on trade, on everything. The Kurds fought with us, but were paid massive amounts of money and equipment to do so. They have been fighting Turkey for decades. I held off this fight for almost 3 years, but it is time for us to get out of these ridiculous, endless wars, many of them tribal, and bring our soldiers home. We will fight where it is to our benefit and only fight to win. Turkey, Europe, Syria, Iran, Iraq, Russia, and the Kurds will now have to figure the situation out and what they want to do with the captured ISIS fighters in their neighborhood. They all hate ISIS. They have been enemies for years. We are 7,000 miles away and will crush ISIS again if they come anywhere near us. So that's a mouthful. A lot of words, a lot of explanations into, I guess, a lot of defense into, why he made this appropriate decision to him. It's an appropriate decision. But this decision was met with a lot of angst, a lot of negative feedback, a lot of pushback, a lot of blowback. And that's not just from the opposite party, the Democratic Party. But that's people right in his own party, the Republican Party.
Lindsey
Graham, yeah. So we can, actually, let's begin with the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell. So he said in a statement, a precipitous withdrawal of U.S. forces from Syria would only benefit Russia, Iran, and the Assad regime, and it would increase the risk that ISIS and other terrorist groups regroup. Lindsey Graham, like you just mentioned, Senator Lindsey Graham. I don't know all the details regarding President Trump's decision in northern Syria, in process of setting up phone call with Secretary Pompeo. If press reports are accurate, this is a disaster in the making. Ensures ISIS comeback, forces Kurds to align with Assad and Iran, destroys Turkey's relationship with U.S. Congress, will be a stain on America's honor for abandoning the Kurds. The former UN, Nikki Haley.
Ambassador.
The ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley. She said, "We must always have the backs of our allies if we expect them to have our back. The Kurds were instrumental in our successful fight against ISIS in Syria. Leaving them to die is a big mistake. # Turkey is not our friend." After that, the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces, which is the Kurdish forces, they retweeted her and said, "The world relies on strong American leaders like former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. SDF proudly fights ISIS with the U.S. because of America's strength and values we share. We hope our U.S. partners will reverse this decision and not abandon our combined effort in northeastern Syria."
And, I guess the obvious knee-jerk reaction, especially for those people who are anti-war, is to kind of
celebrate this move.
Celebrate it, or kind of cast this move as good. Because that's the false choice we've been given. Like, pull out equals good, stay equals bad. And I do think that's a bit delusional. I think it's delusional because I think pulling out is bad and staying out is bad. And I think we have to kind of come to grips with that. Because if we stay without a real plan, then it just becomes another endless kind of occupation. If we leave, like we just did, all we're going to do is create a power vacuum, and then the same situation persists. And then guess what? You think we're going to stay out of it? No, we're going to create the situation, create the power vacuum, and be right back up in there. So I just wish people would be realistic or just be rational in regard to the two choices that we have to make. There is no good and bad. Right. It's just bad and bad. These are both bad choices. So if you want to cast this as good, I think you're being a little bit disingenuous and kind of not acknowledging what is going to happen. Now, if you're saying this is a good thing, at least acknowledge the consequences of it. If you don't acknowledge the consequences of it, then you're not actually being honest about what's going on.
Yeah, because again, this is all happening after a conversation took place with the Turkish president, and so we know, and Donald Trump knows, that there is going to be an assault on the Kurdish forces from Turkey. We know that. And we know that Turkey has been wanting to attack them for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And the only thing it seems like that was stopping them was that there were American forces there.
Yeah, and those American forces weren't providing, I guess, like active, I guess, I don't know, active military force. It wasn't an active military force. So, like, the way Trump is presenting it, this situation, as like our troops were fighting and fighting with the Kurds. That wasn't the case. There were about 2,000. We had 2,000 troops there, and they were providing predominantly border security. And in 2 years, 4 soldiers had died. 4 soldiers. So Trump is kind of elevating this situation as if it's a quagmire, right? Like, we just had to get out of it. Yeah. When he picked the situation that was the least quagmire-ish to get out of.
Right. Yeah. That's absolutely true. If there's an argument to be made about getting U.S. troops out of foreign areas, like, out of endless wars and out of foreign conflicts and this and that, that was not the first place you go whatsoever. There are many other areas that you can look at, but that area, no. Like you said, it wasn't like a hotbed of activity for like these U.S. forces, like they're like constantly undergoing like fire.
No.
They weren't. But like I said, they were assisting the Kurdish forces.
Yeah, they were like more or less like just backing them up with like security, coverage and whatnot.
So it is going to be looked at, and not just from the Kurdish people, but from people around the world, regions around the world, that this is the U.S. turning their back on an ally, because the U.S. did promise the Kurdish people that they would be with them, and now they are turning their back on them, knowing that the Turkish onslaught is coming. They know that the Turkish people are coming for them. And so just on Monday night, Turkey struck the Syrian-Turkish border to prevent the Kurds from fortifying their position.
The day after.
Yes.
The day after.
But see, Donald Trump already knew that this was coming.
But he so again, that's why he had to, like, I wouldn't say preempt, but he kind of did preempt it, because his tweets came after the official White House announcement.
Right.
But I would call it a preempt because he, like, kind of puffed his chest out. Turkey better not do anything. Turkey better not do anything. Literally hours later, Turkey's like, shit, bow.
Exactly.
Like, do you really think that Trump didn't know that was going to happen? He talked to the president of Turkey like a few hours prior. I wonder what they talked about. I really wonder what they talk about. And like, if we really want to be delusional and say that we're out of this, then I can't help you. I can't help you. If you want to be delusional, say we're out of this, I can't help you, because who gave Turkey some of those weapons? The weapons that they used? Us.
Yeah, I know.
Us.
I know.
Well, us in Russia, but us mainly. I'm wondering whether that was maybe discussed on the phone call Trump had with the Turkish president. I'm wondering, because there was a previous deal that was canceled. I think they were supposed to get some Patriot missiles like last year, but there was some beef between the U.S. and Turkey because Turkey got some Russian missiles instead.
Right,
so we kind of like we didn't nix the deal. We just kind of like put it on hold, and then like the time period expired for if the Turkey wanted to go forth with it. Well, we wanted to go forth with it, but I'm thinking that deal is renewed. I'm thinking that deal has been renewed.
Trump did talk about how Turkey is a great trading partner of the United States. It does look bad. And look, this is not to say that we are supportive of endless wars and this and that. Like Mike was talking about before, you have a bad decision against a bad decision. So I talked about before too, maybe I don't know how many shows ago, I talked about the decision that the United States faces with pulling their troops out of whatever different area that we are in, right? It's not just if you have a Bernie Sanders take office in 2021, whoever the Democratic the Democratic nominee is, if you have one of them win and they take office in the White House in 2021, no matter what you think about them, no matter how much you believe about them, no matter how much you believe that they are, against the military war agenda, there's still a process to go by. Like, there's still going to be a decision to make in which, like, how and when we pull back our troops. No matter if what you felt about them troops being there in the first place, the reality is that they are there. To just completely, like, lift them out is probably not the best strategy. And that's really, like, the reality that we all have to face. We want them gone. We want that. We don't, like I said, we don't want these regions just so chaotic with our forces because of our involvement, really. But still, being that they are that they are already there, you just can't lift them out and expect, like, good results. When Obama did, Obama was heavily criticized during his tenure as the president of the United States. He was criticized for creating ISIS. Mm-hmm. He was criticized for creating ISIS because of the pullout in Iraq. He was criticized for what happened in Libya.
Well, like the whole controversy with the slave auctions and whatnot.
Yes.
It said, look what got created because Obama and Hillary.
Yes.
Now, why is that hypocritical for people to kind of chastise Obama and Hillary for that?
Because this is the same thing that's happening. Because we see an assault on the way, right? We see what a lot of other people are saying, that one, the Kurds are going to be assaulted. It's already gearing up for that, right? We see that the Kurds, there's probably going to be many of them that die, innocent people that die. The Turkish forces are on the way. So we also see a situation where ISIS can recapture a foothold in the region. Okay. So if you are celebrating this move by Donald Trump, but then you are criticizing Obama for Iraq,
the results of what happened with
whatever,
Libya,
then yeah, that's just a tad bit hypocritical, wouldn't you say?
because essentially you're criticizing him for leaving without a plan.
Without a plan.
And now, if we
This is
kind of
no
make the
plan,
same
too.
point in regard to Trump, what are we like categorized as? Oh, you're with the establishment. Oh, you want endless war. And it's like, that's a false dichotomy right there. That's a false choice.
Yeah.
Either I agree with the pullout, or I want endless war. Either I agree with the pullout, or I'm with the establishment. Yeah. That is a false choice that I can't really deal with. I just don't get why people have issue with managing a pullout or managing a withdrawal and maybe asserting some sort of diplomatic pressure so we can mitigate the damage.
It's looked at as though, we have been there so long, and people are tired of being lied to. I understand that. You have many politicians that say they don't want war and they don't want this and they don't want that. But then we're in Afghanistan for so long. We're in Iraq for so long, we're in Syria for so long. So you get to thinking about, these people are just full of shit. They're not actually trying to pull us out. And so you don't want any more like stonewalling, no like, pushing the can or kicking the can down the road. You just want them out immediately. But you just can't do that. First of all, you do have to have honest actors that are making these decisions. You do have to have that. But still, even after you have that, you just can't have a pullout. It's just unrealistic.
And guess what? If you actually for it, like unconditionally, because that's what I'm kind of perceiving. People are for like this unconditional pullout. And if you are for unconditional pullout, that's cool, but then you have to accept the consequences. If you don't, then you're being a bit disingenuous. So if you're going to take that position where you are, cheering unconditional pullouts, then I would say you have to accept the consequences of those. If you do both of those things, I'll give you a pass. But you cannot be disingenuous about what it's actually creating, because, to be honest, I know this sounds kind of, cynical, but both situations or both choices are going to serve the empire regardless.
Yeah, that's true.
Both choices,
that's
unfortunately. True. If we pull out or if we stay, they're going to both serve the empire.
And what Trump said in that tweet too is that if ISIS act up again, if they recapture any foothold in the area, we'll be back.
Exactly. So he has no intentions.
Plan.
That can't be a plan.
This is what Trump said too. This was after receiving a lot of pushback on his decision. Trump says on Twitter, as I have stated strongly before, and just to reiterate, if Turkey does anything that I, in my great and unmatched wisdom, consider to be off limits, I will totally destroy and obliterate the economy of Turkey. I've done before. They must, with Europe and others, watch over. And I didn't get the rest of the tweet because it doesn't really matter. But the big takeaways here is how he really talks about himself. What he like. I don't think this is surprising that he views himself as having great and unmatched wisdom, but to actually state it. My gosh, if you didn't know that he was a narcissist already.
We have to kind of put this in context according to who we know Trump is. Like, do we really believe he has some long-range plan to pull us out of just all these wars? Does he have the foresight to plan kind of such a complicated process? We already know he is not really cognitively fluent. Right. So, like, do we really think he has some sort of long-range plan here? Or is he just, buddying with Turkey because he has, business interest and income in Istanbul? I think that's not something we can ignore. He has business interest in Turkey.
Yeah. A question I have, though, is, and he has said this, again, he said this on Twitter, and he said this during a press conference as well, kind of suggested that if Turkey did anything that was inhumane, anything that he considers to be off limits, then he will totally destroy and obliterate the economy of Turkey. You have to ask yourself, what do you think is going to be off limits? Because you know what's coming. Turkey has already bombed the Syrian-Iraqi border, right? So you already know that Turkey's coming for the Kurdish people. You already know that. They've been wanting to do this for a very, very long time. He talked about how I believe the Turkish people and the Kurds are natural enemies of one another. They're
not natural enemies.
No. But he clearly understands.
Natural enemies.
Yeah, but still, just by saying that, he understands that there is a lot of animosity between the two, and how he knows that the Turkish people are coming. So what do you view to be off limits? Because there's going to be death that's coming. The only thing to, I guess, maybe stave this off or maybe help the Kurdish forces is if they align with Assad. And a lot of people are seeing that coming. And if you align with Assad, you know who Assad is in bed with, right? Russia, Iran.
Russia and Iran.
And so these Republicans that are actually, because most of the time when you see Trump doing something that is so ridiculous, that runs afoul of traditions or just of the law even, you see Republicans making excuses for him, defending them at every single turn.
So why wouldn't they do this now? Why wouldn't they do it
we got to
now?
draw a line in the sand.
Are they drawing a line in the sand because they're warmongers, or they want endless regime change wars, which this one wasn't?
Exactly.
I think typically that is the case, and typically we apply that to most of the situations. Because that's our knee-jerk reaction, because that's the reality of the military-industrial complex. But I don't think that's the case here. I think
Republicans are seeing the writing on the wall that it is likely that they do get in bed with Assad and Iran and Russia, and how that is going to be bad news for the United States. And actually, it's going to be bad for the United States allies too, because the allies of the United States are Israel, Afghanistan. They're not celebrating this decision by Trump. So
neither is the Pentagon. Neither is his Secretary of Defense, who didn't know. Neither is the top Syrian top Syrian general.
Right.
None of them knew.
He said he ran it by everybody.
He said everybody.
He consulted everyone.
But who is everybody? Just him and Pompeo and Mulvaney for some reason? And
again, I would hope that we could, pull our forces back from wherever we have them globally. You know, if they're in the line of fire and if we're helping to create tensions and just extend tensions and things like that, yeah, I'm definitely not for that whatsoever. But there still does have to be a plan. And this does not seem to be a plan. So the people that are applauding this, you have to do just the littlest bit of just actually trying to understand like where this is going to go, like what this action is going to create. And I don't think Trump needs to be celebrated for this, because I don't believe this is an action that you can honestly celebrate. I just don't.
And if there is any kind of celebration at all, I just don't like it when people kind of extrapolate this particular situation as if it's a representation of Donald Trump's foreign policy or his outlook on his foreign policy. Now that should have
peacemaker.
That's some sort of peacemaker,
right.
Even though we have not actually seen that on display, because like one of the first things he did when he got into office is what? Bomb Afghanistan with the Moab. He also bombed Syria. Remember that shit?
Yeah. Mother of all. Well, that was in Afghanistan.
That was Afghanistan.
Mother of all bombs.
But when that whole chemical attack,
right.
he bombed Syria.
Yeah. So.
What else? Staging civil unrest in Venezuela, and calling for the overthrow of the Venezuelan president. That didn't work. That didn't work. But it's not like he's been trying to resist war. What about pulling out of the Iran deal? What about pushing that whole Japanese oil tanker bombing blast? They tried to push that. It just didn't work. What about Yemen? Didn't he veto something? Did he veto something?
Yeah, it was a resolution. Definitely after the murder of Khashoggi, the journalist. The senators got to work, got to action. They wanted us out of that Yemen war. They wanted all of our all involvement from the U.S. out of that Saudi-led Yemen war, and Trump vetoed
the bill.
Yes, and he cited the strong relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States of America.
He also said something about they pay us.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and also he selected a Raytheon lobbyist and a former Lockheed Martin and Boeing executive to his national security team. That's somebody who is planning on getting us out of skirmishes? I don't think so. No. And also, he's kind of ramped up the drone war.
Yes, kind of.
Sorry.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you thought Obama ramped it up? No,
exactly.
Donald Trump has ramped it up. So if you just want to view everything out of context, yeah, clap for Trump. But I'm not going to view anything out of context simply because of the optics of this situation. And I don't want to make my analysis and base my analysis off of not looking like I'm agreeing with the establishment.
True. And again, you made the point that you began by making this point that if you're looking to bring forces home, or if you're looking to bring U.S. forces home, that's not the area you would start with. Like you said, in 2 years, you said four have died?
Yeah, four
U.S. forces have died?
2 years, yeah.
Okay.
Or you would just stop droning in like Somalia.
Yeah. There's lots of areas that you would look at before you ever take a look at that area. And again, we are talking about the Kurdish people who we have given promises to.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know. Like I said, globally, I don't know how that's going to look, but any promise that the United States makes going forward is sure to be met with some skepticism. So we will see what happens from this day forward. If the SDF, if the Kurdish people do align with Assad, like I said, I'm sure that Turkish assault is coming. We just don't know exactly what it's going to look like. So we'll see. All right, let's move on. So, of course, last week we talked a lot about this President Trump and Ukraine deal, where he had the phone conversation with the Ukrainian president, the newly elected president, Volodymyr Zelensky, and in which in that conversation, he had asked for some favors, and one of those favors being an investigation into the Bidens. Now, preceding that phone call was the withholding of about $400 million of aid going to the Ukraine. No reasonable explanation for withholding that aid whatsoever, but it was withheld. And then it was about a month and a half after the phone call in which they finally released that aid to the Ukraine. Of course, Donald Trump included his personal attorney into the whole mix. He wanted Rudy Giuliani to be sort of like a point man here, like a very integral figure in finding out information on the Bidens. The whistleblower complaint was released. The summary of the phone call was released. This is not theory. This is not speculation. We have evidence of what Trump actually said on that phone call. So, of course, there's been just a lot of deflection, a lot of defense, particularly by Republican Congress members, just trying to point the finger at Joe Biden and his son and be just so disgusted about the amount of money in which Hunter Biden, his son, was making over there in Ukraine. Reportedly, it was $50,000, but no, it's been updated now. Donald Trump just recently updated that to $100,000 a month. Recently on Twitter, he said, "It is incredible to watch and read the fake news and how they pull out all stops to protect sleepy Joe Biden and his thrown out of the military son, Hunter, who was handed $100,000 a month plus from a Ukrainian-based company, even though he had no experience in energy. Separately got $1.5 billion from China, despite no experience, blah, 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 blah." So, nothing. He says he have an obligation to look into possible or probable corruption, which the President of the United States, can do, but through proper channels, in which these were not proper channels whatsoever.
And that's vague, right? Vague. Corruption. That's very vague.
It's very vague.
That's very vague. That could be anything.
It could.
And if you were trying to either look into corruption or working with another nation to curtail corruption or to limit corruption, you would kind of use broad measures to do that. That's how you would first try to deal with it. You would try to advise Zelensky on implementing broad measures, not like, hey, there's one investigation. Right. That doesn't even make sense, right? If you're trying to curtail corruption anywhere, you look at broad measures.
Right.
You try to implement broad measures so that it mitigates whatever corruption you think is going on.
And you go through proper channels. You don't involve your personal attorney because he has no place. He has no voice being a representative of the United States government whatsoever. In no capacity is Rudy Giuliani speaking for the United States government. So to include him in this matter, it completely tells the story that this was a personal favor, not a favor that the United States government needed. No, this was a favor that the candidate Donald Trump needed. And
it's quite personal, considering that one of the requests is to investigate a political opponent. So the timeline is very suspicious, right, that he withheld this aid. Oh, yes. And I think Ukraine got aid last year. I want to say they got aid last year too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but it's just weird how he just wanted to withhold it, right when Joe Biden decided he wanted to run for president. Yeah. And what was the other thing? Investigating Ukrainians' involvement in influencing our election. Chasing that conspiracy theory, which involves Hillary Clinton convincing Ukraine to frame Russia for meddling in the election. That's a conspiracy that Trump is looking into. So both requests are personal.
Yes, they're not a request of the United States government, because the United States government could not care less about this. This is a personal matter.
And he was asked, do you know if the DOJ is looking into this? Well, you have to ask Barr about that. I'm like, how do you? What? What?
It's ridiculous. But yeah, okay. So there have been some other updates, of course, to this story. And we learned that, Gordon Sondland, who is the U.S. ambassador to the European Union, first of all, he was scheduled to appear for a deposition before some House committees on Tuesday, but the State Department said that they were moving to pretty much obstruct the process and block any testimony from him. So the Democrats, the congressional Democrats are saying that they will subpoena Sondland now. But some messages between Sondland, Kurt Volker, who recently resigned as the special envoy to Ukraine. So Sondland, Volker, and another guy named William Taylor, who is a top official in the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, they were chatting amongst each other. This was last month in September. And there's a very relevant part of this discussion that they were having that I like to show you, which you may have already seen already. But in this discussion, Bill Taylor said, as I said on the phone, I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign. So then Gordon Sondland replies, Bill, I believe you are incorrect about President Trump's intentions. The president has been crystal clear, no quid pro quos of any kind. The president is trying to evaluate whether Ukraine is truly going to adopt the transparency and reforms that President Zelensky promised during his campaign. I suggest we stop the back and forth by text. If you still have concerns, I recommend you give Lisa Kenna or S a call to discuss them directly. Thanks.
That's interesting right there. Why would Taylor perceive this request
something
in that way?
Yeah,
why would
tip him off or something.
why would Taylor perceive the request the way he did? You don't just come up with that. You don't just come up with that unless it was laid out in a way that would make him think that.
Right.
So why would he think that?
There has to be something to it.
There has to be something to it. And with Sondland, he was like, "Oh damn!" He's like,
shut the hell up,
he's
man.
like, "Oh no!" He's like, he realized, okay, that was the cue to be like, okay, this is being recorded.
This is recorded.
I was like, shit.
Somebody's gonna get these messages.
So
one day.
let's not communicate like this anymore, and
Let's stop this back and forth.
Yeah.
Let's talk over the phone. I can imagine what that next phone call was like. Dude, what the hell are you doing, man?
And based on like some of the rest of the messages that were sent back and forth, it sounded like Zelensky thought that, Donald Trump was just going to focus on corruption in general. So they were presenting it as this, presenting it as a situation where Trump wanted to tackle corruption in general and not like go after somebody else. So when he brings up Zelensky and implementing anti-corruption measures, basically from the sounds of those text messages, it sounded like Zelensky was like all for it because he thought that it was just corruption in general. And so they were trying to like kind of be disingenuous about how they went about it, making Zelensky think it was about just corruption.
Yeah.
And then they just sprung it on him like, oh, here, and that's when the call happened, and that's when Zelensky's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I get you now.
I get you now. I get what this is really about.
It's like I said, man, this is a very extraordinary thing that's happening right
What's
now.
Sondland's position?
U.S. ambassador to the European Union.
U.S. ambassador to the European Union. So that's a pretty prestigious position, right?
Oh, it is.
He has, from what I've read, he has really no experience. But he
has
did
connections.
But he
to Donald
did.
Trump,
He has
though.
connections to Donald Trump. He did donate over about $1 million to Donald Trump's campaign, though.
His inaugural fund.
His inaugural fund. So yeah.
His inaugural fund. Yeah. Yeah, and then shortly thereafter, he was appointed.
But Trump wants to tackle corruption.
Yeah, that's funny.
Woo! Okay.
But anyway, yeah, Sondland, he's going to be subpoenaed. It looks like the Democratic Party is going to be subpoenaing him, and then we'll see what happens if the White House continues to, or the Trump administration continues to obstruct the process. I did see shortly before we came on the air a report saying that the White House will not participate in this impeachment inquiry with the Democratic Party. They're not going to participate whatsoever. So
I say it like this. It actually doesn't matter because they lose either way.
Yeah,
because if they don't participate, they can still have hearings.
Yeah, they can.
And they won't be able to present their case. So they either come and try to present their case, which they can't. That's why they're not participating. Because whatever they do, it's going to have to be a lie. And you know how lies always just never add up.
Yeah.
Lies never add up.
And it will be lies because we have proof. It's not a he said, she said, he said, he said. It's nothing out there that's just speculative. It's actual. We have the summary of the phone call. Also, we have the whistleblower complaint. Also, we have a second whistleblower now in this matter, in which this second whistleblower, who is being retained by the same lawyer, I believe, as the first whistleblower, this second whistleblower is said to have firsthand knowledge of some of the details that were evident in that whistleblower complaint.
But whistleblowers can't be trusted and are not to be trusted unless their names are Edward Snowden. I'm just not even know I'm writing. I'm just writing just to be writing.
Yeah.
Chelsea Manning.
That's another one. That's right.
Who else? There's a couple of other ones out there.
Yeah, there are, no doubt. As Matt Taibbi said, I believe I have his quote here. He's pushing back on the idea that I guess this first whistleblower is an actual whistleblower. He's replying to somebody saying, "So you're calling the current whistleblowers fake? That's a heck of a claim, and neither you nor Trump has anything to back it up, or you'd say so." Matt Taibbi responds, "It's self-evident a CIA officer who goes right back to work for the CIA after blowing the whistle is a very particular kind of whistleblower." It doesn't make any sense.
That's interesting. But I thought
it doesn't mean that you're not a whistleblower. And then, who is the whistleblower blowing the whistle on?
Not the CIA, though.
Not the CIA.
He's not going to work, like this whistleblower, he or she doesn't work for this. Well, they're not blowing the whistle on the CIA. They're blowing the whistle on the president.
So why would they be scared of the CIA?
So why would they be scared of the CIA? And actually, it doesn't matter. If you go through the list of government agencies, which is like all of them, they have whistleblower protections. Right. Now, the whistleblower protections just don't involve them being like legally protected or protected from maybe getting murdered, protected from a hit or offer security protection, but also protecting their job.
Yes. So they could be able to go back to work. Also, hold on, are they committing a crime either? Are they committing a crime? Like, you can agree with what Chelsea Manning did. You can agree with what Edward Snowden did as well. I agree with what they did and the information that they revealed. But they knew they were committing crimes though, right? But they knew the information had to get out. They knew
they sacrificed their careers.
Yes, they knew they were in jeopardy because this information, like the way they did it, of course, they couldn't do it like that legally. Right? Okay, they knew that. Now, again, I agree with what they did, but they knew they were sacrificing themselves. This whistleblower that is blowing the whistle on Donald Trump, did he commit a crime? It doesn't seem as though he or she committed a crime, or the second whistleblower as well. It doesn't seem like they accessed information inappropriately or anything like that.
They were actually doing their jobs.
They were doing their jobs. Yes.
They received reports from a number of witnesses.
Yes. And people were actually listening in on the call, and that's where all this arises from.
Not to mention, Adam Schiff actually told this whistleblower or send a message to this whistleblower to tell him to go through the proper channels. I don't even want to hear it until you go through the proper channels and do it the right way. But think about how ridiculous that is to expect a whistleblower just to not come into work. You think that's going to look suspicious, ain't it?
It is.
Wouldn't that look suspicious? Why would you would literally draw suspicion to yourself. What happened to so-and-so?
He hasn't been here for a while. And we have this whole whistleblower thing going on right now.
And they're the only one.
The only one. And we don't have an explanation of why he's gone either.
Nah, I can't be this.
All right, so let's get to some more deflection, okay? This will be fun. So, who should we get to first?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
We'll get to Representative Jim Jordan. So Representative Jim Jordan was on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and he seemed to try to defend Trump's actions, and specifically about China. We talked about that last week, in which Donald Trump publicly, openly called on China to investigate Joe Biden and his son.
They've been scamming China.
Scamming China, right? Openly called for it. It wasn't bad enough that he did this in a phone call with the Ukrainian president. No, he did this openly with China now. But this is all nothing. And you'll hear that Representative Jim Jordan, I guess he is jumping onto Senator Marco Rubio's words. Because Marco Rubio recently said that, I don't know, I'm not going to quote him verbatim, but he pretty much said that Trump was trolling the press.
He was trolling because he knows that, the press will pick it up and run with it.
Yes.
So he was, joking about it. But
he was joking.
It must be a very long-running joke because he's still tweeting about it.
Exactly.
He's been tweeting about it since that interview he did on the White House lawn.
And if you saw the interview in which we played the part where he was talking about China, he looked dead serious. He didn't seem to be joking. It wasn't a joke whatsoever. He was talking about alleged corruption with the Bidens and saying that China should also investigate them. So anyway, here is where Jim Jordan is lending his voice to, I guess, the argument that it was not a serious request.
Let me start with,
is it appropriate for the president to ask China to investigate Joe Biden?
I think he's got you guys all spun up, and obviously it's the case. You've asked me the question. You've asked me the question like 4 times. I've answered
because
it.
you haven't answered it.
I don't think he really meant go investigate. Do you think China's going to investigate him?
I don't know if China's going to investigate him. I know the president asked China to investigate.
We know they're not, George. Come on.
Why can't you answer yes or no? Do you think it's appropriate?
I don't, because I don't think that's what he did. I don't think that's what he did.
So, but it was right there on camera.
I think Senator Rubio had it exactly right. I think our side says this is exactly what I think most Americans say. This is exactly what the president was doing. You would think after, like I said, a few years of following this president, you would understand sort of how this guy communicates. I think that's what he's doing.
You're still not answering the question. If the president is asking China to investigate, which he did right there, is that appropriate? Is that an abuse of power, or is that appropriate?
I think when the president is, and this is why it relates to Ukraine, I think when the president is trying to make sure that there is not corruption, that if we're going to be sending the hard-earned tax dollars of the American people to Ukraine to help them fight Russia, to help them get their country moving in the direction they need, to get the security assistance they need, I think he believes that we should make sure there's not corruption there. It's not President Trump's fault that Joe Biden's son was hired by a company that Mr. Volker told us this Thursday when we had him in for the interview, the ambassador, the special envoy to Ukraine. It's not President Trump's fault that Joe Biden's son was hired by Burisma, this company that had a long history of corruption. I think the president, when he's trying to decide how American tax dollars are going to be spent and what countries they're actually going to go to, it's his job to make sure there's not corruption. So when the vice president's son is hired by this company that Mr. Volker told us had a long history of corruption, was linked to the government in Ukraine, I think that's the president doing his job.
So you think it was appropriate for the president to ask Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden? Do you know of any other instances where the president has called on foreign leaders to investigate corruption that did not involve one of his political rivals?
George, we heard from the ambassador for hours this Thursday, and the ambassador told us there was no quid pro quo, there was no linkage between any type of security assistance money and any type of investigation. The ambassador was clear. We have the transcript where there is no quid. Even Democrat chairman said after reading the transcript, even though before they got the transcript, they said there's going to be a quid pro quo in there. After reading it, they said there is not a quid pro quo. And the two individuals on the call, the two people on the call who know it best, President Trump and President Zelensky, said there was no pressure, no pushing, none of that.
I want you to do me a favor. I need a favor.
I would like you to do
you to do me a favor.
Again, it's like we, again, I've said this before, it's like we're living in a world without the summary of the phone call, without the whistleblower complaint. We're not living in that world. For him to say, hey, we have the two people that were on the phone call, so you believe them, there was no pressure, there was no anything. We have their words. We have their words. We don't have to like, I guess, really We don't have to understand how Zelensky was feeling about it, or at least what he's telling us how he felt
Exactly.
about it.
That's irrelevant.
Irrelevant to the matter. We have his actual words. We have Trump's actual words. That's all we have to deal with. This guy here, Representative Jordan, his remarks, he wants us to interpret how Trump communicates now. We can't actually respond to the exact words that Trump uses and what he does, like his actions. We can't respond to his actual words or actions. We have to interpret them. By now, we should all know how he communicates, and we should, I guess, be able to respond accordingly.
We should translate or just.
If that's on us. That's on us. Yeah. So if we heard Trump actually use the words China should investigate Biden, we should know better that he didn't actually mean that.
That's pretty weak. Jim Jordan's pretty weak in that instance, because in that whole interview, he's trying to, I guess, be a protectionist. But it looks like he is a bit self-conscious about what Trump is actually trying to convey. Why else would he elect to use that argument that, we should know how Trump communicates?
Yes.
He didn't say what he actually said. Y'all are just going on for no reason. Because he's insecure about what Trump actually means.
Yes.
And again, we don't just have the phone call. We have all this other side, these other kind of side situations that accompany this call. For instance, this investigation into this Ukrainian gas company, natural gas company, started like 2 years before Hunter Biden started working there.
Right. It dealt with situations that have been taking place for about 2 years before then.
And again, if this was a genuine attempt to go after corruption, like I said before, it would not just involve this one company. But let's just for sake of hypothetical argument, just for argument's sake, say that looking into one company was the right way to go. Wouldn't it have been presented to President Zelensky as, hey, we want to go after this company. Yeah. We want to reopen the investigation in this company, but that investigation already took place. But let's just live in another reality. Yeah, the company. Like, Trump, first of all, Trump is so dumb. Yeah, Trump is so dumb. What he should have said in the call was Burisma.
Yep.
Burisma.
Yep.
Burisma.
Go after Burisma.
Burisma. Go after Burisma.
And it could have been a code word.
It could have been a code word.
Because you know exactly what, we would have known what he meant, but that he didn't say it, that would have provided him everything he needed to distance himself from, it's an investigation into the Bidens.
And it doesn't make sense considering that it's like Biden wasn't the only one that worked there and wasn't the only one that was on the board.
Exactly.
So it just looks weird that you're targeting this one person from the board that wasn't even there when the investigation into the company started.
He's bad. He's really bad at doing this. All right, so let's get to another deflection artist. This time it is going to be Senator Ron Johnson. So you're going to hear what precedes this conversation. It's a pretty long conversation, too. It's about 4.5 minutes that we have. But we had to show the whole thing because you really need to witness how Ron Johnson tries to protect Donald Trump and the very extravagant measures he uses to do so. So again, it starts with a quote by Senator Ron Johnson in which he's asked to explain himself about this quote. This quote is surrounding details that he, were privy to, that he found out about a connection between the Ukrainian aid, the U.S. aid going to Ukraine, and the investigation into the Bidens and how that made him wince. So here it is.
Let me start with something you told the Wall Street Journal late last week. You had said when Gordon Sondland seemed to imply that the frozen military aid was connected to a promise by Zelensky for investigations. You said, at that suggestion, I winced. My reaction was, oh, God, I don't want to see those two things combined. Why did you wince, and what did you mean by those two things combined?
Well, first of all, your setup piece was, typically very unbiased. But let me first, before I start answering all the detailed questions, let me just talk about why I'm pretty sympathetic with what President Trump has gone through. You know, I'm 64 years old. I have never in my lifetime seen a president, after being elected, not having some measure of well wishes from his opponents. I've never seen a president's administration be sabotaged from the day after election. I've never seen no measure of honeymoon whatsoever. And so what President Trump's had to endure, a false accusation. By the way, you've got John Brennan on. You ought to ask Director Brennan, what did Peter Strzok mean when he texted Lisa Page on December 15, 2016?
Senator,
quote,
Senator,
Chuck, let me finish.
What does this have to do
have begun
with
leaking like
Ukraine?
Mad, scorned and
what
worried
does this have to do with Ukraine?
It has everything to do with Ukraine. Now listen, think our sisters have begun leaking like mad, scorned and worried and political. They're kicking into overdrive. Now that was December 15th. 6 days before that is when we first started hearing the CIA leaking about Russia supporting the Trump campaign. That is why Trump is so upset. He had this false narrative that resulted in him being set up by James Comey on January 16th. Then he has a special counsel appointed that has hampered his entire investigation, his entire administration. And now, once that was proven false, he would like to know, and I would like to know, and I know his supporters would like to know, where did this all come from? Who planted that false story?
Senator,
who leaked? You know, I have my third letter into the Inspector General of the Intelligence Committee asking to just confirm, are you investigating those leaks that Peter Strzok talked about in that text?
Senator, I have no idea.
So again,
why,
that's a setup. It is entirely irrelevant to this point.
Why a Fox News conspiracy propaganda stuff is popping up on here? I have no idea.
It is not.
I have no idea why we're going here.
That is
Senator,
because
I'm
this
asking
is underlying
about,
exactly why President Trump is upset and why his supporters are upset at the news media.
Okay, this
Chuck,
is not about the media. Senator Johnson, Senator Johnson, please. Can we please answer the question that I asked you instead of trying to make Donald Trump feel better here that you're not criticizing him? I'm just trying to ask you a simple question of what made you wince. I'm asking a simple question about you clearly were upset that somehow there was an implication that military aid was being frozen because the president wanted an investigation. Why did you wince?
Because I didn't want those connected. And I was supporting the aid, as is Senator Murphy, as is everybody that went to that initial inauguration. But here's the salient point of why I came forward. When I asked the president about that, he completely denied it. He adamantly denied it. He vehemently, angrily denied it. He said, I'd never do that. So that is the piece of the puzzle I'm here to report today, that unlike the narrative of the press that President Trump wants to dig up dirt on his 2020 opponent, what he wants is an accounting of what happened in 2016. Who set him up? Did things spring from Ukraine? You know, there's a good piece we've got an oversight letter on from Politico in 2017, where let me quote the article. It says, Ukrainian government officials tried to help Hillary Clinton and undermine Trump. They did so by disseminating documents implicating a top Trump aide in corruption, suggesting they were investigating the matter. Ukrainian officials also reportedly helped Clinton allies research damaging information on Trump and his advisors. There is potential interference in the 2016 campaign.
Let me ask you this.
That's what Trump wants to get to the bottom of, but the press doesn't want to. The people who wrote this article are being pilloried. I'm being called a conspiracy theorist. John Solomon's being called a conspiracy theorist because the press is horribly biased, and Trump and his supporters completely understand that.
I understand that the way to avoid answering a question is to attack us in the press. I'm well aware of that, and that's how it works.
Man.
Deflection.
My gosh.
Misdirection.
Dude.
False equivalence. Conspiracy.
Those were just a whole bunch of words. Those were just
not answering the question. Like, hey, this is what you said.
Respond to what you said.
My question has nothing to do with the validity or of whatever theory you have.
Nope.
That's not why we're here.
That's not the subject.
That's not the subject.
The subject is your own words. Why did you say this? Why did you wince?
I don't have an opinion. I'm not stating my opinion on Ukraine. I'm not stating my opinion on Zelensky. I'm not stating my opinion at all. I'm asking you why you said what you said and reconcile that with the position you have today. You have the floor.
He started by saying that poor Trump, boo-hoo, he's been attacked ever since he stepped into office. He said that he's never seen what Trump has had to endure, false accusations and everything. Oh my! He just repeated how old he was. You know what? I don't even remember. I think he's 64, maybe 60 something, 62, 64, something like that. Can you remember 2008, 2009? Can you remember when Barack Obama was elected president and when he stepped into office in 2009? Do you remember this current president being the central figure in the whole birther movement? You said false accusations. You've never seen a president had to endure false accusations before? This current president was the leading figure in the whole birther movement, but you want to cry tears for Donald Trump. And then you want to say just a mouthful of words so that you don't actually want to get to the heart of the issue, in which you had a moment where you were uncomfortable about this probable or possible connection.
It was a biased question, Will.
And
it was a
the Biden investigation.
It was a biased question.
How could it be a biased question when he is just being asked to explain his?
You know what?
A biased question.
It was a simple question.
Oh,
he could have, he could have answered it even if he didn't give the truthful answer.
Yeah.
There was a way he could have gotten around it. He could have still said, yeah, I initially thought there was a problem with it, but upon, further inspection,
and in talking to Trump.
And in talking to Trump, I determined that there was no quid pro quo.
Right.
There was really kind of no pressure on Zelensky. And I don't consider the reference to Joe Biden to be very definitive. It was loose. The reference to Joe Biden was just, a reference.
Yes.
It wasn't specific. Like, he could have lied. I know.
It is pretty specific.
I know Chuck Todd would have probably, had a redirect question,
no
but
doubt.
still,
He could have done a better job.
The way that he ran around, when someone runs around like that, it just makes it look worse. And I mean, not only is Jim Jordan running around, not only is Marco Rubio running around, not only is, what was the other clip we played before that one? What's his name?
Who were we talking about?
The clip before this one.
What, Jim Jordan? Or
before Jim Jordan.
Before Jim Jordan? We played a clip before that?
Oh, no, that was Jim Jordan. It was Jim Jordan and then him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Johnson.
Yeah.
So not only Jim Jordan, Johnson, Rubio, all of them are running around. The ringleader is running around too, and that's Donald Trump. He doesn't actually want to be specific about what he wanted.
Yep.
So this is the only thing that they can do. Like, when they deflect attention away from Donald Trump, they can't actually construct a concrete narrative. They can't, because the ringleader hasn't even done that. They don't know what to do, because when Donald Trump is given a chance to answer, hey man, what did you want? What do you want done? Like, specifically, lay it out. How do you want President Zelensky to go after corruption? And
ask the Finnish president a question. Don't ask me a question.
You talking to me? You talking to me? Like, he's been given chances to kind of, I guess, say his piece, construct a narrative that would give credence to why he wanted Zelensky to investigate Biden and go after corruption.
Specifically Biden.
But he has not. So it's hard to defend someone who doesn't even have, like,
But see, they're doing the best that they can. Like you said, there's actual evidence that he said the words that he said. You can't run away from that. They're trying.
But you know,
do
you know why Trump has not actually been able to construct and piece together an actual narrative that people can believe in, that would kind of justify his call for looking into Biden or looking into corruption? The reason why, and also the reason why you can't answer the question of whether the Justice Department is actually looking into this, is because it's not even about that. It's not even about opening an actual investigation.
Oh, hell no.
What it's really about is just sullying people's names.
Yes.
That's all that it's about.
Yes.
What he wants is Ukraine to just announce it. He wants Ukraine to announce that there's an investigation.
Yes.
That's it.
He
doesn't
wanted
care
this to hamper Joe Biden's
He doesn't
efforts
care
to
whether
get
it's
the
actually
nomination.
going anywhere.
No.
Because he knows it's bullshit.
Yes.
He just wants that out there. Because once that's out there, Hunter Biden's son,
Yes.
Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden is being investigated.
So they're
for
trying to do that
corruption.
anyway. They're trying to do that anyway.
They're trying to do anything, but
But they're trying to run away from his guilt too.
but they want Ukraine to do it because it actually seems more official. Because if they do it, it's obviously political. If Ukraine does it, then it's like, oh no.
Yeah, they're bringing this up. It was because, see, it would have been no problem if the phone call, well, actually, it would have been no problem if the whistleblower didn't come forward. It would have been no problem because nobody would have known that this phone call ever took place and that he was the one that suggested the investigation into the Bidens. If Ukraine, like you said, just said, you know what, we're reopening this thing for a little bit because we think that there might be something to Hunter Biden and this board that he sat on, so we're going to look into it. That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need. Like you said, you just want to sully his name. That's all you would need. Lindsey Graham, again, Senator Lindsey Graham has been one of his biggest defenders about this whole issue. He said on Sunday on Fox News that if President Trump is impeached, that he will have the whistleblowers testify in the Senate in public. He also said, quote, "This is Kavanaugh all over again," end quote. Now, think about the differences between this and the Kavanaugh situation. Even though we believed the account of the accuser in that whole Kavanaugh affair, we talked about that ad nauseum, right? We talked about that a lot throughout the whole the hearing and
piecing things together.
Yeah, we thought her testimony was very credible, but yes, there was no proof. I mean, there was no, hey, we have video.
It was circumstantial evidence.
It was circumstantial evidence, and like I said, I think it was enough to
warrant an investigation.
Yeah.
What the FBI said that they were
Right.
going to do, which they never did. They never interviewed any of the people.
It was enough
relevant
circumstantial evidence for me to form an opinion and feel like that I think that Brett Kavanaugh was guilty.
And
but
especially-
again, there wasn't any solid evidence. Here, is it just opinion? Is it just circumstantial evidence? Is it just like this whistleblower who we don't know said something? We don't know what he said. We think he said this, but we can't prove it.
We can't attach the whistleblower's report or accusations with something tangible.
Yeah, like Donald Trump's own words.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we can do that. So it's not like we're just taking the word of a whistleblower without having something, tangible to look at. We are looking at it right now.
They're trying to make invisible the whistleblower transcript or the whistleblower complaint and the summary of the phone call. They want these things to become invisible to the American people.
And you know what? I think I think this whole China thing is connected to Ukraine, or I guess Trump's accusations about China and being scammed by the Bidens. I think that is definitely connected to the Ukraine situation. I think in some weird way, Trump is trying to normalize his Ukraine phone call by bringing China up and saying they should investigate Biden too. Even though the request is outlandish and out of place, it seems like it's a tactic he's using to normalize his previous actions. So yeah, I call for this stuff all the time. It's normal. See, I'll do it with China too.
If I'm corrupt out in public, then there's no issue.
It's no issue.
Man.
Corrupt out in public.
Wow. All right, let's move on to Senator Elizabeth Warren. Some controversy, more controversy for Senator Elizabeth Warren. So Senator Elizabeth Warren has been telling a particular story on the campaign trail. She's been telling it many, many times. And no, it is not the story about how she has Native American roots. Nope, it's not that story.
And how she kind of confirmed that based on the relative's cheekbone structure, high cheekbones.
Not that story.
Not that story.
It's another story. So in 1971, she had her first teaching position. She was a special needs teacher. And so she's been telling this on the campaign trail. But what she's been telling about her experience is that towards the end of her first year as a special needs teacher, she was pregnant, invisibly so. I think she said she was about 6 months pregnant at the time. And she has been saying in one way or another that the school principal did not invite her back to the same position the next year. So she has said it in different ways. She has said it as though suggesting that she was fired. She had said that she was just not welcomed back. She said that the school principal showed her the door, wished me good luck, on the, having the baby. Like I said, it's been different ways that she's actually been saying this. But now there is some evidence that points to that being a lie. So there was a interview that she was a part of back in 2007, in which she told this story a very, very different way. So we have video of that interview.
It was in a public school system, but I worked with the children with disabilities. And I did that for a year. And then that summer, I actually didn't have the education courses. So I was on an emergency certificate, it was called. And I went back to graduate school and took a couple of courses in education and said, I don't think this is going to work out for me. And I was pregnant with my first baby. So I had a baby and stayed home for a couple of years.
So if she was let go or fired because she was pregnant, I don't think that's something you would skip over in any moment, especially if you're talking about some sort of transitioning in your life. From, in her case, it was she took some teaching courses, or she taught special education. Then she went back and took teaching courses and went to graduate school. And I don't know if it's that interview, but didn't she say something like she talked to some of the men that she graduated with previously, and said that they kind of encouraged her to go to law school or some shit. But she decided to stay home, all that, right? You would not just leave something like that out, something important, like you got fired because you were 6 months pregnant. That's not something you would gloss over. So if people are going to defend her by saying, well, she didn't mention it there, it seems like something you would always mention if you're telling that story, especially if you're talking about a specific transition.
And so she was asked recently by CBS News about the discrepancy, and she held firm onto the earlier narrative, actually, I guess, offering a rationale of why she didn't say it before. And so she told CBS News, asked by CBS News why she told the story differently at Berkeley a decade ago, Warren said her life since her election to the Senate in 2012 caused her to open up about her past. After becoming a public figure, I opened up more about different pieces in my life, and this was one of them. I wrote about it in my book when I became a U.S. Senator, she said in a statement from her campaign. Now, again, like you said, that's not something that you would just gloss over. That's not something, because that would be a traumatic moment. That would be something to where like you feel a particular type of way about. Just because I'm pregnant and I'm having a baby, I have to lose my job because of this. You would, I don't think in 2007 times were a certain type of way in which a woman couldn't reveal that to the public. It just seems like an odd choice. And there's actually more evidence of it not going the way that she's telling the story right now. So multiple outlets have obtained the minutes from the Riverdale Board of Education meeting where the board voted unanimously to extend Elizabeth Warren's contract for a second year. The minutes also show that the board voted by unanimous roll call to extend a provisional certificate in speech pathology. Now, she didn't have a
teaching certificate.
Yeah, she in education.
Degree.
A degree in education. So she had to
she had a certificate.
Extended.
And then I think she could have taken. And then I guess if she wanted to stay, she could have took some courses or something.
Right. Now, minutes from a second meeting. Not a second meeting, but minutes from a meeting about 2 months later, said that the board, quote, accepted with regret Warren's resignation. So, also, there's more evidence pointing that the story that she's telling is fraudulent. Here's some more. It says, local newspaper reports from 1971 also present reasons for her leaving the school alternative to what she describes on the trail. The Patterson News, a local paper, reported that summer that Warren was leaving to raise a family. The next month, a story about the school board hiring a replacement said Warren had, quote, resigned for personal reasons, even though the board had voted to appoint Warren to the same speech pathology job that April, according to an earlier report. So again, this is not just something that is speculated about. Again, multiple news organizations have gained access to these minutes, and it does show. I looked at them; it does show exactly what is being reported. So again, Warren is not running away from, I guess, the idea that she was extended an opportunity to teach that second year. Actually, she told CBS News that, this is a quote from her actually, she said, in April of that year, my contract was renewed to teach again for the next year. But she said that, and that was the end of the quote, but she said that she had been hiding her pregnancy up until that point, and when she was found out, that's when the school principal, I guess presumably said that she was not going to be I don't know. And again, it's kind of confusing what way he said it, because she's been telling it a different way. Shown the door, fired me, wish you luck. It's very ambiguous, the type of language he supposedly used or whatever.
She's being ambiguous.
Yes, I think she
kind of like how she is being ambiguous about Medicare for All.
Yeah, I would say that. Okay. But now she's using this as a campaign thing now. She's using this to aid her campaign. On Twitter, she said, when I was 22 and finishing my first year of teaching, I had an experience millions of women will recognize. By June, I was visibly pregnant, and the principal told me the job I had already been promised for the next school year would go to someone else. This was 1971, years before Congress outlawed pregnancy discrimination, but we know it still happens in subtle and not so subtle ways. We can fight back by telling our stories. I tell mine on the campaign trail, and I hope to hear yours. So she's trying to solicit other people that may have gone through the same thing to tell their stories, probably in the form of a response on Twitter. So look, I have no doubt that this type of situation has played out just like that in many different situations. The question is, did it play out like that in terms of Elizabeth Warren's experience? And if it did, I don't know that she gets the benefit of the doubt, especially when you have the whole Native American thing hanging over her head. And that was an obvious lie. Here, if she's saying that she was offered the job, because she can't say that she wasn't, because again, they're in the minutes. She was offered the job to teach for the second year, but then after learning that she became pregnant, I guess they pulled it from her. Now, it doesn't say that anywhere in the records, and she didn't say that in 2007. I don't know why she wouldn't say it in 2007.
Again,
but hold on. But if that is actually the case, and you're saying it now on the campaign trail, it looks bad because you can't prove it. So at worst, or really at best, this is just a poor strategy. At best. At worst, she's lying.
Yeah, it just seems as if something she trotted out specifically for this presidential election. Otherwise, she would have
said it before.
She would have said it before. It's not like she has not run for office before.
And who would have criticized her about it? It's like if you were hiding this fact in 2007, if this actually happened, you were hiding this in 2007, what were you afraid of? In 2007, what kind of blowback would you have received by saying that? Yeah, you
would receive the same amount of sympathy.
Exactly.
But now it just seems like she's trying to capitalize on this fabricated story and use it to kind of garner some relatability from people who support her.
Yep.
That's what it seems like she's doing.
Like.
But I guess the overarching narrative to me seems to be one that involves a glass ceilings grift.
Oh.
You feel me?
Yeah, it does kind of rub you out.
It's one like she's trying to present herself as the breaker of glass ceilings. That's what she's trying to characterize herself as and trying to create an image of. I'm the breaker of glass ceilings.
Right.
I kind of have this Native American heritage, Native American history that I overcame.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Actually, she's done that a few times.
I overcame. I was punished just for being pregnant. These male-dominated environments. I just felt like my situation wasn't respected, and so I was let go. So that creates like this, like kind of, I guess, a misogynist victim narrative, or a patriarchal victim narrative.
At one of the debates, and I can't remember if it was the last one or the one before that, but she talked about how in her run for Senate that she kept being told, she was told repeatedly that she had no chance. She was a woman. She had no chance to win. And so, you know, she just responded by, you know, talking to, you know, little girls about, you know, the importance of, you know, I guess, and not her words, but mine, kind of paraphrasing, but breaking those glass ceilings. So yeah, this is something that is.
Seems like she's trying to tap into
a part of her campaign.
She's trying to tap into something that's generally true, though.
Yeah.
We will acknowledge there's something that's generally true, but it seems like
phony.
she's kind of weaponizing something phony to do it.
Her defense sounds Trumpian to me.
In what way? In what way? Like what?
Because I can kind of compare this to the whole Trump-Ukraine situation. Because we have evidence in which Trump actually did
you mean
what
like we
he
have
did.
A transcript.
We have a transcript, right? Not a real transcript, but still, we have notes of the call. This is actually what he said. And so Trump is trying to, you know, cloudy up the situation.
So she's trying to recharacterize.
No, this isn't the situation at all. This is not what happened when it is. And Elizabeth Warren is saying that, hey, no, I know what happened. I just didn't tell you what happened in 2007. There's no evidence that what you said happened whatsoever. And again, in 2007,
there anybody? See, that's the thing.
If this was 1972, if it was 1972 and you were captured on an interview, and maybe you felt like, man, I can't say this because maybe I'm trying to get a job there again, you know, and I don't want to burn any bridges. In 2007, what are you scared of actually admitting what happened to you?
It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't. It just. To me, it just looks kind of sketchy, man.
Kind of sketchy. I don't believe it. All right. Let's go to, these last two stories are kind of connected. Judge Tammy Kemp. So we talked about Amber Geiger's murder trial last week, in which she was convicted and ultimately sentenced to 10 years in prison. She will be eligible for parole in 5 years. And following the trial, the presiding judge, Judge Tammy Kemp, came down from the bench and she approached Amber Geiger, brought her a Bible, prayed with her, and ultimately ended up hugging her at least twice on 2 occasions. And my take was that it was completely inappropriate. It was a horrible look for her. For the whole process, it was a horrible look. I did not understand how she could allow herself to do that. She did go over to the family of Botham and John, but even that, I don't recall that happening before. I just don't recall a judge coming down from the bench to console anybody, especially a murderer that has been convicted of it. I've never seen that before. So Tammy Kemp now, the judge Tammy Kemp, has now gave her first interview since Amber Geiger's trial has been completed. And she did defend her actions. She told the Associated Press that she watched Geiger change throughout the course of the trial. She said that she felt her actions, in which she went down to Geiger, were appropriate because she waited until the trial was over to approach Geiger and give her advice, her own Bible, and the hugs, of course, that we all saw. She also said that Geiger told her that she didn't have her own Bible and didn't know how to seek God's forgiveness.
Boo. Fucking boo. That's some manipulative bullshit. So she watched Geiger change just throughout the course of the trial.
Yeah. I think it was like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
2-3 weeks?
Like really? Like do you I mean, first of all, this is a judge. This is a judge.
You telling me you don't like how do you know you weren't being played by her?
Exactly. This seems very gullible. Again, are we to believe that this particular judge is that gullible, or is there another reason she was showing sympathy for this particular person? Like, like, I could be wrong, but when I was looking at Amber Geiger up on the stand, I did see her try to express some sort of emotion and try to, I guess, express some sort of, I guess, remorse. Try. But I didn't see any.
You missed the word because you unsuccessfully tried.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yes.
I did miss a word.
You missed that word.
Because essentially that's what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. Because I didn't see not one tear. Like, what does Tammy Kemp think that Amber Geiger was going to do? What did she think Amber Geiger was going to do? It's not that that's like something she's not seen before from a defendant trying to present a case that they are sympathetic. That's not new. You see what I'm saying? So none of the stuff, it's normal. None of the stuff that Amber Geiger did was abnormal to the situation.
Not to anybody.
Not to anybody. Where a defendant tries to present themselves as being, remorseful, sympathetic, crying on the stand.
And trying to present this all of her actions as a mistake. Everything that she did, she presented them as a mistake. And this is why she's pleading not guilty. Defendants have always done this. If they are pleading not guilty in a trial, they're always going to look at, like you said, like they're remorseful. They're always going to paint the picture like they didn't intend for the outcome to have taken place.
Wait a second.
I don't know how long Tammy Kemp has been a judge, but if she has been a judge for any amount of time, like you said, she has seen defendants before and she has seen these actions take place before.
Yeah.
So to believe in this one particular, because she even said in this interview that she had not done this before. She said in this interview with the Associated Press that she had not done this before. So you have seen defendants before express some sorrow and, how they are just filled with such grief over their actions.
Outpouring of emotion.
Yeah. But that neither time did it cause you to step down from your bench and approach the defendant that was just convicted of a heinous crime. But with Amber Geiger, you felt that this was necessary because you saw a change in her over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. And that she didn't have a Bible. You think? Did she have money for a Bible? Did she have money? She. This is another quote from her. Okay, I didn't even give you a quote yet. This is one of the quotes from this interview. So she said, if she wanted to start with the Bible, I didn't want her to go back to the jail and to sink into doubt and self-pity and become bitter, because she still has a lot of life ahead of her following her sentence, and I would hope that she could live it purposefully.
So the fuck does everybody else? I'm trying to get this video demonetized, but so does everybody else. I wouldn't say everybody. I won't go and say everybody, but I'm sure that applies to a lot of other people who were actually, I was going to say in her shoes. That probably applies to other people that didn't commit crimes like her, commit crimes of a lesser offense.
Yes.
That probably deserve sympathy. It didn't take a life.
Right.
That had a life ahead of them. And quite frankly, how can you just look at Amber Geiger and characterize her just based off what you see in trial when you know good and well these trials are designed for defendants to look sympathetic? Right. That's the point of the trial, is to plead your innocence so you can get off. So how are you going to look at how Amber Geiger presented herself at the trial to determine what type of mindset she was in? You look at everything surrounding the case and what she did. Like when it came to her not providing life-saving measures or providing life-saving attention to Botham Jean. That should give you a better indication of what type of person she is and how much remorse and how sorry she really is. Getting on the phone and with her boy toy to try to figure out what she can do. It just seemed like at every step of the way she was more concerned about her job and more concerned with getting out of the situation. And of course, all the social media and the text messages, that gave you an idea of what type of person Amber Geiger was. And I don't think, from the time that she murdered Botham Jean up until the time she was sentenced, how much change realistically could have taken place with that woman?
You can't there's no way in that limited amount of time you can ascertain how much change she has undergone. There's no way. Like you said, the purpose of a trial, in I guess the perspective of a defendant, is to appear as remorseful as possible so that even if you are convicted, you get off with a very lenient penalty, a lenient sentence. That's the purpose. That is the goal of the defendant. And so I would assume, again, that a judge presiding over a murder trial especially, because not every judge presides over murder trials, but I would assume that this wasn't her first one. I would just assume that. Even if it wasn't a murder trial, you have seen defendants in your courtroom before. You have seen them a certain type of way. I think more than not, defendants look like her. They try to appear as remorseful as they can be.
She got the blonde. She even did her,
Yeah.
she got the blonde.
I'm saying,
she dyed it more.
Oh yeah, she did. Yeah, but it seemed to be her actions seemed Kemp's actions seemed to surround religion, seemed to surround the Bible. How Amber Geiger wanted to give her life to God, but she didn't know how, and she didn't have a Bible. Do you really think that if she wanted a Bible, she couldn't get her hands on it? You really think the presiding judge had to be the one to give her the Bible? Are you serious? Like, how stupid do you believe people are? This is another quote from her. So she went on in the interview and she said, following my own convictions, I could not refuse that woman a hug. I would not. And I don't understand the anger. And I guess I could say if you profess religious beliefs and you are going to follow them, I would hope that they not be situational and limited to one race only. This chick
Wait.
race card.
Wait. What do you mean limited?
Yeah.
How does that apply to this situation?
I don't even know.
What?
Are people mad because you gave
A white woman the Bible?
I mean, it might be an aspect of that because it doesn't seem like you did that for anybody else.
But she said something about, isn't it ironic she mentioned something about situationally?
Yeah.
When actually she is the one.
Yes, this is the first time you've done
Yeah, so she is the one who's kind of going about this situationally. Mm-hmm. She's projecting on everybody else. She's acting as if people are not seeing this for what it could possibly be, or people are not viewing this with a side eye because she admits herself that it's the first time she's ever done that. If she doesn't understand why that's going to create a little bit of
and anger. And she's trying to be very manipulative by bringing in the race. Had this been a black woman officer that shot and killed Botham Jean, there would be the same type of outrage about this officer. There would be the same type of outrage. And if she was the one that was on trial, this black officer, and Judge Tammy Kemp came down and hugged her, you would see the same type of people saying, this looks wrong. This was inappropriate. How could you?
Why is she showing this particular person sympathy?
Yeah.
Again, Kemp admitted herself that this is the first time she's done that. So it just makes sense that people would kind of look at it suspiciously. Like, she's a judge. She knows exactly how this looks. She knows exactly how this looks. She's smart enough to know that.
So connected to the situation is Joshua Brown. So Joshua Brown was a key witness for the prosecution in Amber Geiger's murder trial. And he was murdered on Friday night. So it happened in the parking lot of Brown's apartment complex, his new apartment complex. He did live in the same apartment complex as Amber Geiger and Botham Jean previously. And he did testify to that, what he heard, what he saw. He saw Amber Geiger pacing around and on the phone. And like I said, he was a key witness for the prosecution, and he was found murdered on Friday night. So, of course, there's been a lot of speculation about, what possibly could have happened to him. It does seem like an awful coincidence that this key witness in this trial turned up dead just days after the whole court experience, the whole trial and the sentencing phase had wrapped up. It does look very, very bad. So a lot of people were speculating that it could have something to do with the Dallas Police Department, possibly some vengeful action to I don't know, do something for Amber Geiger or what. Like I said, there's been a lot of speculation about that. So on Tuesday, the Dallas Assistant Police Chief Avery Moore held a press conference and updated the situation, and he revealed that through investigation, it was found out that Brown was killed in a drug deal gone bad. So we have some video from this press conference.
Through the dedicated work of my detectives, we have identified 3 suspects in the Joshua Brown murder. Jacarius Mitchell, black male, 20 years of age. Michael Mitchell, black male, 32 years of age. Thaddeus Green, black male, 22 years of age. According to suspect Jacarius Mitchell, all 3 suspects came from Alexandria, Louisiana, to purchase drugs from Joshua Brown. Thaddeus Green was the facilitator. He's the one that contacted Joshua Brown. As they drove to the offense location, Thaddeus Green gets out of the vehicle, has a conversation with Joshua Brown, which escalates into physical altercations, at which time Jacarius Mitchell gets out of the vehicle and he states that Joshua Brown orders him back into the vehicle and shoots him in the chest. As he's laying in the vehicle, he hears 2 more gunshots. He says that Thaddeus Green shot Joshua Brown 2 times. According to the autopsy report, Joshua Brown was shot 2 times in his lower body. One was a through and through, and the other entered his body just below the spine, traveled upward, damaging vital organs. Thaddeus Green also took the backpack that Joshua Brown had, as well as the gun that Joshua Brown had. Michael Mitchell was the driver. He dropped Thaddeus Green off at an unknown location, and he took Jacarius Mitchell to Promise Hospital to receive treatment. He was later transported to Parkland Hospital, where he is currently in police custody. We will execute a warrant for capital murder on him today. We also received numerous tips as it related to the killing of Mr. Brown, and in that we executed a search warrant at Mr. Brown's apartment, where we confiscated 12 pounds of marijuana, 143 grams of THC cartridges, and $4,000 in cash. We have also issued capital murder warrants for the other 2 suspects, Michael Mitchell and Thaddeus Green.
So, again, that was an update, and like I said, there's been a lot of speculation. Also, in this press conference, this assistant police chief, Avery Moore, he did respond to, I guess, the suggestion that this was a situation that involved some kind of vitriolic action by the police. Like I said, some kind of avenging Amber Geiger or some type of thing. And he said that that is totally inaccurate, and that they had nothing to do with this, of course, and that they know who did it, and it was these 3 men. It was because of a drug deal gone bad. So, of course, now comes the, I guess, now comes the conversation of if you can believe this in its totality. These 3 men that were coming from Alexandria, Louisiana for this drug deal, one of them was in contact with Brown. That's what this police chief said, assistant police chief said. It's a pretty long way, right, from where they came?
What do you say, Alexandria?
Alexandria,
Louisiana.
It's a pretty long way.
To Dallas. That's what it was, right? Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas.
Now, I've heard different estimates. Isn't that where they came, though? They come to Dallas?
Yeah, he was shot in his own apartment complex.
All right, well,
the parking lot.
According to this, Alexandria is 4.5 hours away from Dallas.
Okay.
4.5 hours. So I don't know what kind of weed Dallas got, but Dallas must have that cushy kush.
That ooh wee.
That ooh wee. That cushy kush. That bombzilla. You know what I'm saying? That stank on you.
It sounds far-fetched. Now, they do have one of the guys in custody. They have obtained arrest warrants for the other two, but they have one guy in custody, the one that was reportedly shot by Brown. So he's in the hospital right now. He's under arrest. He is going to be charged with capital murder. That's what this assistant police chief said. I believe, he also said that there was a search warrant on Brown's residence in which they did find, some, I guess, drug paraphernalia. He said 12 pounds of marijuana, some cash, THC cartridges. I don't know, man. I don't know. I will say that it definitely does look suspicious.
They could have tried something. This is some junk they do on some primetime TV. Drug deal gone bad.
It would. The reality of this is that if there really was anything more to this story, it's going to be very difficult to prove it, because if you do have this one individual in the hospital with a bullet hole, if you can somehow tie the gun back to Brown, if they find the gun, I don't know if they're going to find that gun, if there was a gun, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, there's going to have to be some other information, some other evidence that is gathered. As it is right now, like I said, it looks very shady. It looks very shady. But like I said, I can't.
A 4-hour drive to kill him?
Yeah. That's not what he said. That's not what Avery Moore said, the assistant police chief. He said that there was some type of argument that broke out. He said that Brown was the first one that shot. And then after that, that's when I think it was Thaddeus, was it Thaddeus Mitchell or Thaddeus Green? I think it was Thaddeus Green that then shot Brown in response to that. So the way he's telling it, this was not a plot to kill Brown. This was a response to Brown shooting. That's the way he's telling it, at least. Again, I have no idea.
So Brown just started shooting out of nowhere. Must have been a dispute, so we just started shooting?
That's what he said. It was a dispute. He said that the driver got out of the vehicle and
Brown ordered him to get back in.
And then he shot him.
There seems like a hole there. Like somebody gets out of their vehicle and then Brown orders that person into the vehicle and then shoots him?
Well, what? I mean, look.
It seems like there's a gap there.
One of the things that, and look, I'm not saying that it will clear itself up or it won't, but one of the things that I'm wondering about is, was Brown by himself? And if Brown was by himself, he just fired on 3 men by himself?
By himself, yeah.
When nobody was firing at him. He just broke out and just started firing.
Rambo.
And got killed in the process.
This is one of those, let's just sprinkle some crack on him and get out of here type stories.
The bad thing, the bad thing is that I highly doubt that there's going to be, some type of clarification.
Hell no.
It doesn't. They came from Louisiana. What you said, 4 hours away? Over 4 hours away?
4.5 hours.
Over 4 hours away to get some
a weed deal.
Some weed.
Weed deal. I'm like,
it's not. It was not legal in Louisiana. Yeah, it's not legal in Texas either, though. Okay. Trying to find an angle here.
Like I said,
they were going to Colorado or something.
Oh, true that. True that. Like I said, either Dallas must have, I don't know, they must have a reputation for having a certain kind of weed for, people to drop 4 and a half hours.
3 dudes just driving 4.5 hours away. There's got to be some more. Of course, there has to be more to this story. And if there's no more that actually is, released, it's just gonna stink more and more, because these 3 are going to have to explain, like, okay, so how did the connection get formed? How did you know Brown? Why did you want to drive 4.5 hours away? I mean, were you only going for the weed, or were you going to stay for a while, or like what exactly was the motivation here? Why? Like, why? I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, but that's all we have for tonight. So what we're gonna do now is open the phone line so that you can join the conversation. We would love to hear from you. If you have something to say tonight, if you have a question or comment, just like always, we welcome your involvement. The number to call in is 669-900-6833. And like I said, let's get that on the way now.
Apparently, it was only based on the amount that they said was there, it's estimated that weed was valued at $100.
Tell me you're lying.
Nah, but I could be wrong. That's what people are saying. But
please tell me you're lying.
No, that gotta be. It better be more.
I would think it gotta be, because you're talking about pounds.
Yeah, it's at 12 pounds.
You're talking about 12. Nah, that's gotta be.
That's gotta be more than that.
That's gotta be more than that.
But didn't they leave the money?
That I don't. You mean with Brown?
Yeah, the money and the drugs.
I don't know what they found on Brown. Like I don't know that I don't know that I heard that much. I just know that they obtained that search warrant for Brown's apartment and they found some cash. They found, drugs but actually, because I believe what I heard or what I read about this was that I don't know which of the 3 men, but one of them, I guess, took the gun from Brown. So if they took the gun from Brown, then they would be able to tell investigators where that gun is right now. And so if that gun is the one that shot the one that is in the hospital right now, then ballistics will show that as being accurate. And then also, will tracking that gun, does it track to Brown in some way? Was it legally his? I mean, is there some kind of record that it belongs to Brown? I don't know. Like I said, it stinks, man. It stinks. Right now, it stinks. All right, so we got our first caller. So we're gonna welcome them onto the stream here. And the call is from 443 area code. You are on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? It's Court.
What's going on, man?
I was listening to y'all segment on Jim Jordan and Ron Johnson. And Will said, Will was asking a question. He asked a question like, he asked, are we supposed to believe, or are we supposed to listen to what Trump says, but not believe what he says? And, are we supposed to interpret what he's saying? Paraphrasing, of course. But yes, Will. Yes, you are. As a matter of fact, Will, when a conservative gets up on national goddamn television and begs a foreign power to investigate his political rival, you should take him not at his word, but what's in his heart, which is to kill and lock up a bunch of brown and black people. But don't pay attention to his actions.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to his actions. You got to listen to what he says. It's absolute bullshit. Like I was listening to the POTUS channel, Julie Mason today, and she had Bloomberg, some reporter from Bloomberg on there, and I mean they just completely downplay this stupid shit. How in the fuck do you go on CNN and tell somebody you think the president is joking when he gets up on national television and asks China to investigate Joe Biden? Like, who in the fuck gets away with that? Seriously. You know what? I'd like for anybody to go up to a cop and say, I just robbed this bank, and here's all this money. And then when the cop says, you're coming with me, I'd like them to be like, I was just joking. It was funny.
I didn't mean that.
I was making it funny.
Yeah.
Smile.
Absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit.
Yeah, man,
It amazes me, man. It amazes me.
It amazes me too, man. Like I said, I that's exactly what I mean. That was what Jim Jordan said. Yeah, that was Representative Jim Jordan making that argument that we can't take Trump for what he actually says. We have to interpret what he says. We should all know Trump by now. All of us should know. So again, it's not on Trump to explain who he is and what he's about and what his intentions are. It's on us to interpret his intentions. And so interpretation always goes more than one way. It goes multiple ways. Think about religion. How many interpretations of religion are there? So we're supposed to, like, whose interpretation is real then? Jim Jordan's is real because it's successful, or he wants it to be successful in defending the president?
No, it's about evidence. And that's what I fucking hate about, like the broader narrative that gets put out there. The broader narrative about this whole let's have Jim Jordan say the president was joking and let's ha ha ha, let's yuck it up, with people on the, like Breitbarts and all these other extreme right wing magazines. Let's yuck it up with these people and act like they have some kind of valid point when all the fucking evidence points to this dude literally asked a foreign power to investigate a U.S. citizen. Not just on one occasion, but twice. And once on national fucking television. And let's just placate, let's pacify these crazy conservative bastards who are going to get up here and talk about, he just likes to pull your leg because you're the press. Absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. It's astounding. It's astounding. Like, this country's going to go to shit in a handbasket, and we're going to, like, half the population is going to sit there and actually question with themselves, well, is the president actually crooked? I mean, he could be joking, right? It could be.
I'm telling you that we dealt with that poll last week in which, Republicans were questioning whether Trump had actually did what the summary of the phone call said he did. You said that it's I guess what these Republicans are doing, like Jim Jordan are doing, is like saying we have to interpret his words. We can't just point to him. He's just messing with the press. But the phone call that he had with President Zelensky, that wasn't about the press. The press wasn't there for that telephone conversation. But the words showed that he did exactly what he did, and that was solicit the foreign government to investigate a political rival. If it was going to be such an issue with Russia, again, there's no let's bury that and say that there was no evidence, right? Trump came away clean. We ain't got him for nothing on that whole mess. He was clean. He didn't collude with Russia. Let's put that to bed. But everybody agreed, especially including the Republicans, that if it was the truth, then it would be an issue. It would be a bad look. It would be illegal. All of that. So it didn't happen with Russia, but it happened here with the Ukraine. But it's not an issue. Tulsi Gabbard said that it would have precipitated a civil war if he was proved to have colluded with the Russians.
Oh, it's because he does what, the hard right, fascist and racist portion of the country wants him to do. That's why the excuses get accepted, because people in high places, they fund his campaign. They agree with his message. They want to see the kind of foreign policy, that he espouses to be enacted. They want to see the kind of domestic abuse that he espouses to be enacted. They benefit off the corruption. So, you've got opinion pieces that are going to come out with this bullshit, debunked, Joe Biden crooked. Joe Biden every goddamn reporter worth their fucking salt that I've heard on the news has said that Joe Biden cannot be connected to this whole Ukraine scandal, and neither can his son. And that the prosecutor, that the dude, you know, that Joe Biden was saying needed to be removed, he was talking to that guy, and his son was working at one of the companies that he was avoiding investigating. So how did he help his fucking son out? If I wanted to be crooked with my son and help him out, get him some money on the sly, right, why would I go tell the country or the prosecutor that's avoiding investigating my son's company? Why would I tell them that I want that dude gone?
You
wouldn't tell them that.
Times. Court, you need to say that like a million times so that people actually understand that, man. I mean, I'm sure our audience does, but again, I think you've made that point yourself, Mike. If Joe Biden was actually involved in corruption and trying to protect his son, the prosecutor was not going after that boy. You would leave him in place.
You would exactly. You would keep that. You would keep Shokin in place. You would have kept Shokin in place. You wouldn't have.
And he could have too. He could have went after every other crooked motherfucker in there, and nobody would have batted an eye. But no, he goes for the one prosecutor who everybody knew he was corrupt, and it would have directly affected an investigation into his son's company. And that investigation would have went forward because that corrupt prosecutor would have been ousted because he got him ousted. And it's ridiculous, man. Like motherfuckers just sit there and, you know, like I said with Jim Jordan, he was just joking with y'all, and like people fucking buy it. It's so frustrating. Like why? Like why do you let these people fleece you like this?
Well, that's an interesting question that you asked because I was recently, I wouldn't say that it's in your neck of the woods, but I would say it's a place that you like to frequent, and that's Reddit. I'm not normally there, but sometimes people send me things, and I thought that this might interest you, considering we're talking about this and Trump and basically people denying what they hear and what they see. And there was this one comment that says, I don't think most of you liberals, or I don't think most liberals, or I think what most liberals are missing is that this isn't about right or wrong. It's about winning and losing. I've attached my entire worldview to this man, and I'm going down with the ship. Not one of you is going to convince me otherwise.
Yeah, it's a sunk cost fallacy. You've put so much effort, you put so much energy into this shit. Now, if you give up on it, you pretty much lose your entire self. And let these people always talk about how the left is a bunch of identity politics, and yet they tie their entire identity to this dude. Up to the point where he can do stupid shit on national television like a fucking moron, and they will protect him. But we are the ones who have the, you know what I mean? Like we're the ones who have the identity politics. Absolute bunk. It's bunk.
I don't think a lot of it. Well, the comment you read though, I guess somebody understands that that's what they're doing. I don't think a lot of the supporters understand that they're actively doing that. They're just doing it, and they feel like they're in it. I mean, they're involved in it, and it feels like they have to protect them because I guess it says something about themselves. They're coming away with, like, Trump wins, they win. Somehow they win. But I don't know if they're that introspective to know that they're engaged in covering up dirty deeds by somebody that really doesn't deserve, you know, their protection and defense. But
he's just a moron. Yeah. I mean, he really is. He's just a moron.
What I hate is the second whistleblower too. Like, it's like, I feel okay. It's fortunate, I guess, and to some regard, that there's a second whistleblower that can attest to I guess some of the details in the whistleblower complaint. I guess that helps the narrative going forward. But we've said this before, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the first whistleblower didn't have firsthand information about this. It's because his words or her words were backed up by Trump's own words. We don't need actual firsthand content or, firsthand narrative. We don't need that. It's
like this dude, Michael Smerconish, right? This dude, Michael Smerconish, he's one of these talk show hosts too. And he literally, he's sitting there trying to justify, how he believes that the Democrats are going to have to come up with a whole lot more evidence that President Trump is guilty of some kind of quid pro quo. He's been on this shit for 2 weeks. He's been on this shit for 2 weeks, asking hypothetical questions, which mean absolute shit. And then you get the president actually say something on the air, on national television about his crimes. Mm-hmm. This dude just glosses right over that, and he starts asking himself hypothetical questions. Well, how do we know that President Trump, really wasn't looking for a quid pro quo? I mean, there is a lot of corruption in Ukraine, and you could ask any kind of follow-up question you wanted. Well, if there's so much corruption in Ukraine, how come he's only going for Joe Biden? If there's so much corruption in all these other governments, why doesn't he go after, Saudi Arabia, who had a journalist killed? Why doesn't he go after North Korea, where people get locked up for it? It's absolute crap. But this dude, who's a respected talk show host, gets up here and says, and will be the first one to talk about, oh, I'm not a Republican, I'm an independent. Yeah, you're not an independent, bro. What you are is you're a conservative who's in denial because you know how fucking vile your brand of politics is. That's what it is.
The goalposts keep getting moved with this president for some reason. People have the ability to defend him at every single turn, even when he openly admits to violating the law. Openly admits.
It shouldn't even be allowed. It shouldn't even be allowed. It's a mockery.
Hey, yo, Court, I'm about to, rile you up a bit. Pardon me for, throwing, just being a human incendiary device and causing some drama. But we got a little caller in the chat. I wouldn't normally do this, but we love you, man. We got somebody in the chat named...
Oh, tell me it's not RBR, man.
No. It's Jacqueline. Jacqueline, this person, it could be real, could be fake, could be a stock name, I don't know. Jacqueline Jackson says, enough with this snowflake caller. Whatever that means. That's just that's some general pejorative without any kind of argument.
Now we go to snowflake. Well, ask him how come he's defending a criminal president. Ask him that. Ask him how his feelings are now that he realizes he's defending a criminal president. Everybody knows he's a fucking criminal.
No, he's not a criminal, man. He's a jokester.
He's a joker.
He's a jokester, man. He's not a criminal court. He's just a jokester, man.
Hey, ask the Kurds if he's a criminal or not. Ask the Kurds if he's a criminal or not. Figure that shit out. We're all the military. We're all about protecting people who help our boys out, right? Well, how come we just fuck the Kurds over? Why do we do that? I guess somebody was owed a favor for some fucking towers that his daughter set up in Turkey, huh? Bullshit, snowflake. Get the fuck out of here.
His former security advisor, this is what one of the things he was indicted for is because he didn't report some lobbying work he was doing in Turkey. Mm-hmm. And he was a part of some kidnapping scheme that involved Turkey he was going to get paid for. So, there is definitely not just business interest, but some personally invested interest Trump has with Turkey.
His daughter just got on Twitter a month ago or 2 months ago and thanked Erdogan, for building Trump towers. It's blatant, dude. It's blatant. And then you've got we need to get on Hunter Biden because he used his last name to make some money, a lot of money, and that's corrupt. Okay, sure, that's fine, sure. But how come you got Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and Ivanka Trump in official government positions working on contracts in countries which is definitely against the emoluments clause? It's definitely against the emoluments clause. I mean, it's just blatant.
Don't forget Kushner.
It's just out in the open.
Don't forget Kushner.
Yeah, Kushner had something like $66 billion, I think $66 billion in debt, or $1 million. I don't know if it's $1 million or $1 billion, but it was a lot of goddamn money. And then all of a sudden he gets fucking clearance, and all of a sudden he's no longer in debt. Huh? I wonder what kind of dirt he got on his creditors and used after he lied on his SFP. How many times? It was 3 digits, man.
Yeah.
It was 3 digits. That dude had to redo his SF-86 form.
That's right.
He had to redo it 3 times and made hundreds of omissions and lies. But he got a clearance. Absolute crap. Absolute crap.
It's too much, man. It's just.
It is.
Much.
It's like you can sit there and argue all you want about snowflake this and liberal tears that, but at the end of the day, when you add this shit up, when you see who's getting fucked in the ass, it's America, right? And when you see who's doing it, it's the fucking conservatives. Like, they're the ones who are just greedily grabbing that shit. Like, just greedily grabbing that shit. Oil contracts. We're going to drill on Wilhelm, and we're going to bust on a 16-year-old because she sees the catastrophe coming. Well, we're just going to make fun of her, right? Farmers getting screwed over, not only because of climate change, but because of your asinine economic policy. And China fucking running the court with you all goddamn day. You sitting up there prostituting yourself like, oh, I'm going to add China and get Joe Biden in trouble. So this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Keep lying to the people because, again, conservatives, what is their selling point? Like, how are they going to get votes? If they actually told people what they're about, if they actually communicated what they actually are and what the conservative vision is, then they wouldn't get any votes. So they have to continuously lie, continuously view or portray Trump as a jokester and how his words are not to be viewed as literal words. Like I said, it's just the whole thing. The conservative ideology is a joke. It's a complete
It's like
joke.
you look at the problems of the world and you look at why we're at where we're at. One side wants to try and do something to alleviate the problems of a vastly unbalanced economic system, a vastly unfair social justice system, right? Are they perfect? No. Democrats aren't perfect, but at least they give a fuck. Like, at least they want to try to do something to stop the kind of corporate greed, the kind of, the military-industrial complex. They're trying to do something to make it so you don't wake up in the morning and fear for your fucking life because you might have got hurt at work and you don't have health insurance. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and then you got this other side where it's like, well, you got to stand on your own 2 feet. We're going to make it extremely hard for you to do that. And then when we figure out if you can do it, we're going to make it fucking harder. And the only reason why we're doing this is because the more desperate you get, the more money you give us. And the more scared we make you, the more stupid shit you do to keep us in power. It's just, and they do this all day long. They just constantly pull the wool over these people's eyes. And they're like, yeah, go ahead and vote for Trump. But Trump doesn't give a fuck about the Midwest. Do you think Trump gives a shit about the South? Do you think Trump gives a shit about, like, anything? He doesn't. He's a narcissist. The only thing Trump cares about is Trump. And people are like, yeah, this guy's, he's in our corner. He's our last hope. He's not your last fucking hope. This dude is a moron. All he's done is sit there and incriminate himself. He can't keep an administration together. That's for goddamn sure. I mean, he cannot speak to world leaders with any sense of dignity or respect. He's sullied our reputation around the globe. He's sold out our allies who have fought with us alongside, not alongside, but against terrorist groups like ISIS. I mean, this is serious shit. You got a stock market that's continually plummeting. Economic numbers are not holding weight. You're trying to get the Fed to lower interest rates because you heated the economy up with your stupid fucking tax cuts for the richest people in the goddamn world. But no, he's our fucking savior. This guy's got all the answers. Yeah, whatever.
Oh, put the mic down, Court, man. Look, we got to go, man. But, man, Court, it's always a pleasure when you call in. And,
he had all that built up, man.
Just drop some knowledge.
He had all that built up, man.
I can tell you.
He been waiting to say all that.
We had to provide you with a little bit of latitude to get all that out, man.
Man, I appreciate you guys, man. Y'all have a good night.
All right, man. Appreciate it, Court.
Peace.
All right, we're going to go to 540 area code. You're on the air live.
Hey, guys. It's Smitty again.
Hey, Smitty. How you doing?
Smitty.
Hey, I just want to know which Democratic candidate do you guys think is the second best? Like, that's currently running, so no micro ballots. Too easy.
Ugh. Why do you present
I
such
know,
a
man.
horrible question to us, man?
It doesn't matter which. Well, it's all okay. You have to kind of look at our answer in context. So our answer is going to surround the reality that it's a gradation of bad.
So okay, so just to be clear, best as in not best chances, but best to, I guess, like our ideology, like who we would support. Who we would like.
Yeah. Not like electability or whatever.
Okay. Go ahead, man.
I'm waiting on y'all.
Yeah, I know. No, he's telling me to go.
I'm telling
He's telling me to take this on first.
Oh, my video.
You know what?
Y'all are.
This is actually easy question for me, because I'm going to pick somebody that doesn't have that much baggage, and that's Tom Steyer.
Damn, I was gonna.
Yeah, see, that's why you should have went first. I'm gonna go with Tom Steyer. Yeah. I'm not picking any of the other candidates because all of them, unfortunately, including Tulsi Gabbard, first they were disingenuous, and now they are waffling on Medicare for all.
Yeah.
All of them, every single one of them. The central issue, probably the most important issue. Climate change is the other issue, but if you're talking about an issue that will directly impact people's lives, all the candidates have backpedaled on that issue.
Yeah. Every single one of them. Except for Bernie Sanders. And it seems as though Tom Steyer is not backpedaling at all. And he's a billionaire. Now look, I understand that he is a billionaire. I understand he has a certain past, hedge fund, all of that. And at this point, it's more rhetorical, that we have to go on. We have his words to go on. We don't have a lot of exposure to Tom Steyer. He is running a lot of ads. It has been effective because, again, he is qualified for the 4th debate and the 5th debate already. So, like I said, it's been very successful. But unless he does something that counters what his narrative has been since he's been in the race, then I think I would agree with Mike that he's probably the second best. Like I say, it's a little bit uncomfortable that he's a billionaire. I can understand why people would feel that that's uncomfortable. And again, just knowing what his background is. But we've talked about him before, and again, he made an abrupt change in that background. He has disassociated himself with that hedge fund. Ever since he has done that and distanced himself, he created that Next Gen America, an environmental advocacy group. Seems to be doing the right thing for the right reasons. Again, I just don't have any, like you said, I don't have any baggage other than that past, which, it looks like it was genuine. I don't know. That's what we would say.
Yeah, there's no great answer.
Yeah, probably a few months ago, I probably would have said Marianne Williamson. A few months ago, I would have said Marianne Williamson.
A few months ago.
Yeah, a few months ago.
And even at some point, I would probably said Tulsi.
Yeah,
I would definitely say Tulsi. I would have been like Tulsi right after Bernard.
Yeah.
After.
But I already threw her away. So.
Marianne Williamson definitely did a lot better on Dave Rubin than Tulsi did.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, see, I'm not going to offer any excuses for that. I think people are going out of their way to offer excuses for her.
Yes,
that's just not what you do on a very, I don't know. That just seemed like
you remain objective, man.
You remain objective no matter what platform you go on. It wasn't like this. It's a big platform, but it wasn't big.
Yeah,
it wasn't big. So it's like you would think in a smaller platform. That provides, I guess, an environment where she can be more herself, not less. The big stage tends to cause people to come to the center, or the big stage causes people to alter who they are to appeal to a lot of people. But that kind of small venue should have kind of been a situation where she presented herself more honestly. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
Marianne Williamson, I think she has a lot to provide. I think she has a lot to offer. I think she comes from a very genuine place. the one issue that I do have with her is on Medicare for all, because her answer on that is really it's abysmal. I mean, I can't even, if you're not in the right place on Medicare for all, and that is you totally support it, the idea of it and everything that comes along with it, if you're not there, then any other answer is abysmal. So her answer was other than. So I don't agree with that. It seems as though she's right where she needs to be on pretty much every other topic, but that topic for some reason she has some apprehension about, and so I can't put her up there. I can't do that.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a legitimate conversation to have about not just policy, but like the strategy that a candidate would use if they got elected. And just off of her responses to major issues, whether it be immigration and the wall, immigration and the wall, Julian Assange, the investigation, Ukraine. There was some other stuff. Like, if you're talking about specifically on Dave Rubin, just some of her positions and how she presents them. I mean, to me, if she takes that kind of mindset or strategy into office, I don't really know how much she could get done or how much ground she could cover as far as, forming coalitions and whatnot, just by the way she responds to things. Like, she tries to be unnecessarily contrarian for no reason. So it's not just about policy at this point. It's kind of about her, I guess, political dexterity, and it just doesn't seem to be there. It doesn't seem to be there, and I can't not acknowledge that. And if people who support Tulsi Gabbard kind of brush aside that, then I can't help you. I
thought you were talking about Marianne Williamson for a second.
My bad. Yeah, I was talking about Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay. It sounded like that. And I was like,
my bad.
Hold on, you talking about Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah. So I was like, I gotta look at that too. I just she seems okay. She seems okay on a lot of different issues, but then it's like when the rubber meets the road and she's asked to make proclamations about things, it just seems off. So I can't just go on platform.
Yeah.
I have to go on what she says and how she elaborates her positions. That sticks with me too.
Because a platform doesn't really mean anything. You're not bound by your platform. If you're saying if you're saying things that run counter to your platform, I'm putting more stock in your actual words than the platform. If you can't recite the ideas in your platform, that tells me a whole lot. And Tulsi Gabbard does not seem to be able to do that. So anyway, that's our answer. Man.
But I would take her over somebody like Buttigieg or Warwick or Biden.
I would.
Maybe even I don't know about maybe even Warren.
I don't know.
How do y'all feel about Yang?
It's possible.
Yang is a nice guy, but he's kind of what you would call kind of a Silicon Valley. I don't want to call it that because I might be seeing him casting him as not a serious character. I was going to say a Silicon Valley socialite, but no, he's kind of one of those Silicon Valley creations. And so regardless of what people feel about his intentions, regardless of whether I feel where his intentions are, especially with the UBI and all this and jobs guarantee, to me, at the end of the day, it just seems like a Band-Aid. Not actually deal with the imbalanced tax structure and not actually dealing with capitalism, something that he benefits from and makes all his money on. So I like Yang, but I still think at the end of the day, there's a lot of limitations for what he offers, and his explanations are very spacious too when it comes to the things that UBI would help, especially climate change.
I'm seeing more, with Yang and even Tulsi Gabbard and Marianne Williamson. I see more advisors than I do see presidential candidates. That's what I see. But that's just my opinion. But we appreciate the call, Smitty. It's
All right, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, man.
That was a good question, dog.
Yeah,
that was a good damn question, man.
It's a very interesting.
I hate you for asking it
Yeah,
because I had to rack my brain.
I wouldn't think that I would be saying that Tom Steyer would be like number 2 on my list at this point. I didn't think Tom Steyer would be qualifying
for a 5th debate.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the next caller, 617 area code on the air live.
Hey, LTMB, it's Ben out front. How you doing?
Ben.
What's going on, Ben? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, you guys know I'd call in, right? I always do.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, I look forward to the show 2 times a week. So that was a little painful when you guys took that break for I think it was August, right? August 2019, you guys took a break.
It's probably like 4 weeks.
Never gonna forgive you for that. Hey, your buddy Court was on fire, huh? Is he always like that?
Yes, from time to time.
From time to time, but see, he went a while without calling in.
Yeah.
And he did call in last week, but
He might have some stuff done.
Yeah, so we didn't feel that same fire,
Yeah.
that same, you know. But yeah, tonight it sounded like he had some stuff he had to get off his chest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he was spot on. He kind of took a lot of my steam. So I do feel a little bit, I feel decompressed now, so I'm feeling good. So thank you, Court. That was a pretty good call. Some of the things, like, I know kind of Courtney or Court, whatever, touch on this, but you know how Marco Rubio, he's like, oh, you know, Trump's needling you guys. Needling. He's like trying to use these, you know, right-wing message board, like liberal snowflake tears, and you're getting needled. Like, oh, you're getting pwned. You're getting needled. And this is Marco Rubio. He's a senator, right? Senator Marco Rubio.
Right.
Little Marco,
getting needled. So the things that Trump said that he was either joking or not joking, depending on who you ask, was Mexico was going to pay for the wall.
Ah.
So was that a joke? Wow. Is that a joke?
Because you can't take him literally.
No, you can't take anything he says. And I know that. I know he's full of shit. And I know you guys got demonetized thanks to Mike.
Put me on blast,
and then Courtney called in anyways and kind of went over the top. But yeah, I know he's full of it, right? But yeah, so Mexico's going to pay for the wall. But no, actually, we're going to pull out of the military budget from that. We're going to pull out of FEMA for that. And then he said he was going to separate families at the border, him and his advisors.
Right.
But they were serious about that.
They were serious.
So they are separating families at the border as a deterrent. This guy is a monster. Then he said Jeff Sessions should not recuse himself.
So he was joking.
Meaning he wants to run a criminal, and that's a joke, or is that serious? Because was he joking or serious? And then he says there was no collusion in Russia. So is that a joke or serious? And anybody who thinks that he's really clean in the whole Russia thing after what's coming out with all this stuff is just complete tool. And then he went on TV and said Russia should hack Hillary's emails.
Yeah.
Which I know we're never going to really know, you know, what sort of relationship WikiLeaks and the Trump campaign had and Russia had. You know, I like Julian Assange and he brought out all true information. So I'm not against that, but that's what people said and about the false choice. And Mike said that earlier. You know, you're being presented with a false choice. We can think what Julian Assange does to bring out the truth. Like, we want to see the truth, but it doesn't mean that he's not a saint either. So
yeah, have a personal interest. Yeah, be objective. And quite frankly, like, even if I acknowledge that Julian Assange revealed a lot of information that we otherwise wouldn't have, I guess, been able to view, like, he played a dangerous game because, again, he had to find a safe haven in dangerous places. And he found what he thought was a safe haven in Russia at one time. And he was playing a dangerous game. He had to, in order to do what he had to do, he had to build up trust with individuals he was going to expose. And so he played a dangerous game. And I think he made a deal with the devil. And I think he got played. He probably agreed to help facilitate a certain release of information to help Trump. And that doesn't mean he liked Trump. He may have been trying to use it as a get out of jail card. And guess what happened at the end of the day?
Under the bus.
Yes, he got thrown under the bus. Are we surprised? Are we surprised? Trump just threw damn Rick Perry under the bus. So it's like, are we surprised? I think Julian Assange got played because remember in the interview, they asked him about what? WikiLeaks. And what did Trump say? Huh? Who? What WikiLeaks is? I ain't never heard of WikiLeaks, even though throughout the whole campaign, he name-dropped WikiLeaks like 11 times. So why is he, all of a sudden, he doesn't know anything now? He doesn't know anything about Julian Assange. I don't know anything about WikiLeaks. That's because
he was joking. He was joking.
No, he got played. That's what makes the Julian Assange situation so disappointing, because he got played and he got thrown under the bus, and now Trump doesn't need his ass anymore. So
yeah, and not to kind of like, because I know I don't know. I actually did not vote for Hillary Clinton because I'm in Massachusetts. I voted for Jill Stein, which I know like people get upset about that and everything, but Hillary, was going to win. I'm really fed up and have been fed up with the Democrats for a long time as a party goes. And I did vote proudly for Jill Stein. My regret is just that I kind of wish, out there on the internet, like I wasn't trashing Hillary as much as I could, as much as I probably did. Because I think we could have still brought the party further left, even if we had Madam President. But I know this is going to be hard for a lot of Trumpists to hear, for those two people who dislike the video every week but keep coming back. So I'm speaking to you. Trump cannot hold Hillary's blank strap, okay? I'm not going to say it out loud, but Trump cannot hold Hillary's blank strap. So the last thing I want to ask you guys is, do you think Nina Turner is, like, if Bernie were to get healthy and continue this fight and actually get the nomination, like start winning some primaries, start winning some early primaries, do you think Nina Turner is a legitimate VP? Like, is she qualified? I know she has the right mindset, but is she going to be a VP? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang up, let you guys kind of just answer that if you don't mind. And then I'll keep tuning in the rest of the show. So you guys be well.
All right, man. We appreciate it, Ben.
All right. Bye, guys.
That's a really good question, because I know there is a lot of support for Nina Turner nationally. I think most of that support is from your hardcore, Bernie supporters. I'm not sure how nationally recognizable she is. That's what I would not be sure of. I think when given the opportunity to speak on the national stage, that she can deliver a message like few can. So I think that given the opportunity to shine nationally, I think it could work. I think that it could work, but would she be the choice? I don't know. Would she be in the discussion? I think she would probably be in the discussion, but I do think it's going to be a woman. I do think the choice is going to be a woman. It's very probable that it's going to be a woman of color. I think.
So if it's a woman of color,
yeah,
would any of the the women that are still currently in the presidential race, or for the Democratic nomination?
There's Tulsi. I don't think it's actually, I don't think it's going to be anybody, especially, you know what, and especially because of this. Now, I don't get the feeling that Bernie Sanders is feeling like he's going to die anytime soon, okay? He did have this complication. He had a heart attack. He had to undergo a procedure. He had two stents put in. Look, we said it when we talked about this before, that it's not an uncommon procedure. So there are thousands of these particular procedures done throughout the United States every year. So, I don't feel like, again, that he's feeling like he's gonna die if he does take office, and he's not gonna be able to serve his full 4 years or even 8 years. I don't feel like he would feel like that. I don't feel any particular type of I guess like I'm playing a guessing game, or like, I don't know if Bernie Sanders is going to be around for the full 4 years. I don't feel like that. But I still believe that even before this episode that he had, I still believe that he would want somebody behind him that would have,
continue his
take
agenda.
the mantle and actually carry it over the finish line or whatever. If he can't continue for whatever reason, he would have to pick somebody that is lockstep in line with his vision. And that's not Tulsi Gabbard. That's not Elizabeth Warren.
It's not Kamala.
That's not Kamala Harris.
No,
that's not anybody that is currently
that's not Globajar.
Globajar. That is nobody that is currently a presidential candidate in the Democratic Party. Tom Steyer, again, he seems to be saying the same things as Bernie Sanders, but we know how Bernie Sanders feels about billionaires and how he has responded to Tom Steyer's candidacy, so I don't think that's a possibility. I think it's going to come from somebody that is outside the race right now. So Nina Turner, I think, is a possibility. I would like to see that. I mean, I think a lot of people would like to see that. I just think that, again, she would have to make her name known nationally, more nationally than it is right now. Again, I think just in Bernie circles and progressive circles, many people know who she is. Many people love to hear her voice, but she just needs more national recognition. If she is in that vice presidential debate, I have no doubt she would clean up on Mike Pence. I have no doubt that she would win that vice presidential debate. So
got some questions, not questions, but some comments that we might want to address. Got Artificial Amorphous Man says Nina already said she won't be VP, so I heard. Mm-hmm. If that's true, I mean, if that's true, maybe it's something that, she didn't want to be speculated. Mm-hmm. If it was...
Not at this point.
Not at this
definitely
point.
Don't want to do anything.
Yeah, you don't want to do any speculation. No. So I'll just take you at your word.
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn says Nina Turner is great, but not as a VP. What do you think she'd be good as? Because VP tends to... To me, she has a bit too much fire to be VP. VP stays kind of in the background.
But she could reform it.
She could reform.
She could reform that role.
What does Jean say?
The VP is an advocate for the office.
I like how Jean says the Alaska woman and not Sarah Palin. She says the Alaska woman wasn't well known.
That's true. That's true. She was not well known. Nobody knew who she was.
I think she did that on purpose.
I think when she was nominated to that role, that's the first I had. And again, I was not as involved in the political process as I am right now back then. But just think about everybody else nationally that is not still to this day involved in the political process. Would Nina Turner, would that name, would that I guess resonate with anybody?
Lisa Catlett says Nina is great. The only thing folks don't like is she's too black and too loud, and she would be otherized. That's the problem, whether you admit it or not. This is why, thinking her as a VP candidate, based on what we kind of perceive a VP candidate for me, didn't fit. Because I know, that wouldn't be for her. But like you said, she can reform that.
She could.
So it's I think a voice like
Hillary.
I think a voice like hers is necessary, and I do think that she brings a type of fire to the conversation, and she keeps that fire. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was like VP. But see, I was thinking about VP in the way that we perceive it, and not being in a position like that.
Whatever you say about Hillary Clinton, when she became the first lady, Hillary Clinton, was she just your regular first lady? Oh no, she had a voice. She wasn't Melania. She wasn't Barbara Bush.
So she did. She kind of changed the game. She did change the game.
Oh, she was very outspoken. No matter what you believe about her, if you disliked her or liked her, whatever, she did transform that role as a first lady. You can't doubt that.
If she had the right politics, it would have been dope.
Oh, no doubt.
It would have been dope.
No doubt. Instead, she talked about super predators. I'm just trying to be historically accurate. I'm just seriously. I'm just trying.
I didn't see that coming.
I'm just trying. That's all I'm trying to do, man. Also, Ben was talking. Man, I'm trying to remember what Ben was talking about now. I had something to respond, but I can't remember now.
Boy, Lauren's ain't got no sympathy for Lauren. Lauren's one, boy. She ain't got no sympathy for Warren. Warren is to the right, a spineless rat.
Damn.
And a definite corporate sellout. But other than that, perhaps she's a good person.
Wow.
Woo! Damn, no fucks given right there, boy.
Wow.
Nice little sarcasm right there. But that's funny, yo.
What was Ben saying, man? What was Ben saying?
About what? Nita Turner?
No, before that.
Talking about Marco Rubio joking, maybe about stuff.
It wasn't that. It was something else he said. I can't remember. I should have wrote it down. But anyway, we appreciate everybody that called tonight. Court, Smitty, and Ben, thank you for lending your voice to the platform. We appreciate that.
It sound like a jazz band or some shit. Sound like members like a jazz band. Court, Smitty, and Ben or some shit. Fuck.
Yeah, we do encourage anybody else that is listening into the program, watching the program. If you do have something to say, we would love to get you onto the program to voice your opinions or ask a question or anything like that. In the super chat, we have Gaillard, who is a very familiar name and is a very repeat supporter of LTMB, and we definitely do appreciate that, Gaillard.
Smitty, they joking now. The law firm of Court, Smitty, and Ben.
I think
that actually sounds better.
That does, yeah, the law firm. So yeah, we will be back on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sure there'll be...
Oh, I'm sure. I'm quite sure. There's always
more.
something. Always something.
I don't know what Turkey will have done by that time.
How much damage will they have caused?
They're already, like I said, they've already advanced. They've already preempted the attack. Well, not preempted. They already made a... Well, no. They already attacked.
Yeah, they already attacked.
They already attacked.
Trump actually preempted the attack.
Yes.
Unknowingly.
Yeah, unknowingly.
If Turkey does anything, well, why would you need to poke your chest out? You know what I'm saying? And say that. If Turkey does anything, because you know they are going to do something.
He got that word on the phone call. He knew it was coming. Of course he knew it was coming.
That's what. So he pulled troops out so that would happen.
Yeah, because he said he didn't want U.S. troops to be in danger. That's what he said.
But he's okay with the Kurds being in danger.
Of course he is. The people that, we had their backs and, helping them.
That actually,
I think
they also helped set up a new government in Iraq after we toppled Saddam Hussein.
Mm-hmm. I think in the fight with ISIS, they've lost thousands of people. Like, I think I saw 11,000 people have been killed.
They're seen as your more, I guess, I don't know, like progressive, They're seen as more like the progressive group over there. Over there. They're the ones who fight the extremist Muslims.
Yeah. But we don't got their backs anymore.
No. We've done this shit before, though. We've kind of left them out high and dry. Yeah. I think one of the most recent times I can remember is H.W. Bush, like in 1991, where the first time we were trying to get Saddam out of there without us going in. I think he was encouraging southern Iraqis and the Kurds to rise up and take down Saddam. But see, they didn't have the backing of the U.S. Because see, at that point, I think the U.S. was trying to do it through like civil unrest. That's how we tried it first. That didn't work. What happened is that resulted in Saddam Hussein committing genocide against the Kurdish people. That's why they sought refuge in Turkey and Syria. That's why they're there right now. So guess what's happening again? Don't have their backs this time.
It's gonna lead to bloodshed. We know that. Like I said, I think there's a lot of the speculation that the Kurds will, line up with Assad, I think is warranted. Don't know if it will happen or if it has already happened. Don't know. Haven't seen anything since we've been on the air. So, but again, I think that's where the Republican furor is, because once you line up with Assad, then it's only going to stand to benefit Russia and Iran. And that is not a good look for Republican Congress members who want to, who are interested in Israel and, Saudi Arabia and you know, it's just not a good look for this president. So it's just interesting that this is the line that they drew. Everything that Trump has done in these over 2 years that he's been in office, all the things that he's done, what he's going through right now with Ukraine, which cannot be defended successfully. They're defending the indefensible. They don't win. Nothing. They'll talk about how Trump is joking and this and that, and like I said, they'll throw out everything in their toolbox just to defend him. But betraying the Kurdish forces, that's a step too far. So that's very interesting. But anyway, I see Jacqueline is mixing stuff up, so we're good with some trolls.
I mean, they being like, I wouldn't say that person is being disrespectful. I think some of the points are, a little bit off, but I wouldn't say that person is being disrespectful
By saying
enough.
that somebody is a snowflake? That's a little bit.
That is, but that's like kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever.
I mean, nobody's hurt. Nobody's getting hurt feelings.
Yeah. It's not like some sort of disparaging. That's just some like weak pejorative that it's just like, I can't take that seriously. You don't really have an argument if that's all you have. Like cuck, snowflake, libtard, beta male. What is it? What's that dude? What's the dude with the little conservative? Amazing.
Oh.
Jesse Lee Peterson. He likes to say that. Beta, man, you beta.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while, man.
I haven't looked for him.
Yeah, me either.
He's
not in my feed. Because if you don't look for him, he doesn't come in the feed anymore.
Unless he does one of those little interviews with somebody that's on the left, like David Pac-Man or like Kyle Kalinske.
Why does he entertain Jesse Lee Peterson so much?
If you do it comedically. Do it because you know it's a joke. There was actually a comedian who did that.
Yeah.
I think one of the cast members of Wild 'N Out. I can't remember his name. Damn, it's skinny dude. He did an interview with him, but it was completely a joke. Even Tariq Nasheed did an interview. It was a complete joke. He wasn't taking him seriously.
Not at all.
But
not at all.
David Pac-Man,
treats him like he's an equal. Like,
why are you taking this dude seriously?
Like, come on, man. You know he's coming from a disingenuous place.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyway, everybody, we appreciate you being here for us tonight. Again, we'll be back on Thursday. Don't have anything else to report, I don't believe.
No side items.
No
side items.
Yankees in the playoffs, just move forward. 3-0. Sorry for you Minnesota Twins fans. Oh, sorry, Moose Gal too. The Cubs didn't make the playoffs. Ooh, I'm sorry. That's
tragic.
That's unfortunate. And the manager got canned too. Matt. What is it? Madden?
I don't know his last name.
I think it's Madden. I forgot his first name. But yeah, that hurts. Better luck next year. Yankees. Whatever. But anyway, we'll be back.
We must have another Chicago fan in there because he said.
Somebody said something about Chicago?
Ouch, fellas. I don't know. Maybe stop myself different.
Yeah, Tanya.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Moose Gal tries to, say some stuff. So, tries to get me to. Why would I want to wear a Chicago Cubs hat when I can wear a playoff team's hat?
Either Moose Gal is not watching or she's just being mighty quiet. She don't want to, put herself out there. She usually out there talking trash.
She is.
She usually talking trash.
That's why I'm going hard.
Cause you trying to
I'm trying to bring her out.
Trying to bring her out. Trying to smoke her out of her hole. Yeah.
Oh man. Good times. All right, everybody. Have a good night. We'll be back on Tuesday. I think not Tuesday, but Thursday. Thursday is also the night of that CNN town hall. But we're still gonna do the show. Bernie Sanders is not gonna be there, like we talked about earlier. I think it's a LGBT town hall, LGBTQ
something
town hall, I believe it is.
Where is it gonna be at though?
I do not know. Do not know the location. I guess. I wonder if it's just going to be the top 12. Or I guess top 11, since Bernie Sanders is not going to be involved. But I wonder if it's just going to be the top 11, or if they're going to have... It would be useless to have the others. Because there are still, 18 19 candidates, even though you don't hear anything
You don't
about
hear
them
anything
anymore
about them.
because, of course, at this point, chances of them making any noise are minute. But yeah, I don't know what the time is that the town hall is going to be, but like I said, we'll operate like it's a regular show. But since next week, since the debate is on a Tuesday, we'll probably have to change that. I don't know what time the debate is, but we'll probably
do a Wednesday show.
Probably have to do a Wednesday show. Yeah. But we'll make that.
We'll
known
let y'all
on
know.
Thursday.
Yeah, we'll let y'all know.
But anyway, everybody have a good night, and we will see y'all on Thursday. All right? Peace out.